Powson right. Here's the pitch, and Machado hits it in the air to deep left field. Mile high, how about a mile gone? Underneath the video board in left field, onto the concourse above all the seats. Probably the longest home run hit by a Padre this season. For Manny Machado, his 15th of the year, and now 3-1 Padres here in the 7th.
Martinez right back with the 1-0. And there's a drive deep into center field. Laureano peeling back to his left. This one's got a shot. Laureano leaps, and he can't get it. It is just beyond his reach, a little to the right of dead center. Home run number 20 on the season for Corey Seager. He has homered in each game of this homestand, and he gives Texas a 6-2 lead.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome in. Sharp Betting in the morning. Another night of ball last night, whether it be in Vegas or across your favorite Major League ballpark. And the Mets and the Braves opened up a key series. And they used to call it Big Game James. Can we call him Big Game Max? Max Scherzer was filthy last night. And that's why you pay Max Scherzer a lot of money. And that's why he is one of the best pitchers in baseball. When it's go time, Mad Max throws well. And he did last night, dealing the Mets in the first game of that series with a win over the Braves.
Is that like, that's my opening to talk?
Yeah, you're supposed to go, Big Game James. I like that guy.
I just prefer to say hello. Yeah, it must be nice
Hello.
just to be able to throw a hammer out there and stop a skid.
Yes. I mean, that's what he's in your rotation for.
It's like, the Braves are playing well, feeling really, really good about themselves. They've got it to a game and a half. It's a kind of a playoff atmosphere, even though I thought the Braves crowd was a little subdued early, but 7 strikeouts through 7 innings may do that to you as a fan base, but he just closed the door like, yeah, maybe tomorrow, not tonight. Let's push this thing back to 2.5. I mean, what he was doing to guys like Olsen, I'm not even sure he was seeing it.
Mm-mm. I mean, he was on one.
It's just, I mean, that's a good lineup that he neutralized. And I think Braves got it. They had 2nd and 3rd in the 8th, and closed the door on that bad boy too. That was gonna be his last hitter, regardless, and he sent him to his room.
Yeah,
So
the only guy that touched him was a guy that should be in the All-Star game in Austin Riley. Yeah. Other than that, he made you're right, a pretty good lineup.
Riley's probably the only guy that I think could catch Goldschmidt in terms of MVP.
So he's got 20. That was his 24th home run. He's got 24 and 57.
I mean, is there another legit MVP guy? Maybe like Machado?
Yeah, but I mean, Goldschmidt is starting to separate.
He's the guy.
No,
I mean, like
Austin
Riley. Riley and Machado are about the only guys that can maybe run him down.
But Max Scherzer, that's why you pay a guy a lot of money, because he has proven that in big game situations he's going to step up and he's going to either stop a streak or extend a streak or win a big game. And he did that last night with 9 strikeouts in 7 innings. He's also a guy that I like to watch pitch, because in big settings like that where they have big crowds, we saw it with the Nats, we saw it with the Dodgers, we've now seen it with the Mets, is he feeds off of that. Some athletes in big game situations when the crowd is into it, and sometimes I hang on every pitch or what is on the line, they kind of go into the fetal position. Max Scherzer does not back down from anybody.
No.
I mean, he's got a little edge to him.
Yeah, the K, who do you get? Rosario in the 8th? And I mean, you got the big fist pump, like go to your room type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think Acuna's still looking for it.
He'll be looking forward all the way to the home run derby next week in L.A.
Yeah, you know who was driving me bonkers, and I get it, but you know who is super heavy-handed, like during broadcasts and like in studio stuff? Joe Reynolds is way heavy-handed.
Yeah,
it just, I mean, my man was, and I should be used to it because I like him, but Jiminy Christmas, like, my man was breaking down the art of turning a double play on like 4 different games. Pretty much the same deal, just different teams. I was like, okay, man, you're talking over the double play broadcast. Let's help me here. But I mean, hey, good on the Mets. They needed that one. They lose that one, boy. It seemed like a real critical game, especially with your hammer coming off his last performance, where you darn near you wasted his outing.
Yep.
You were on the verge of doing it again.
I know. And
it could have crumbled.
And you got that performance, and you turned it over to Edwin Diaz, who I at one point a few years ago thought Edwin Diaz would be out of baseball, but he has struck out 73 of the 142 batters he has faced in the back end of the Mets bullpen. There's a big reason. They've solidified the back end, and you have Scherzer, and you're waiting on DeGrom, that they've been able to grab an early lead and trying to hold on. But that was a fun game last night. I mean, that was nice, like playoff type atmosphere. You're right. I wish the crowd was a little bit more into it, but a little subdued on a Monday night. Also yesterday in baseball, the Royals, by the way, swept the doubleheader against the Tigers.
Didn't we think the Tigers were playing well?
Yeah, and then I watched both those games yesterday. God, what the heck are they doing at the plate? Their approach at the plate is not very good at all.
Well, kind of, you know what I was
It's no
saying
Bobby
the other
Witt
day
Jr.
when they were hitting, when they were going through that run, and I was like, oh, apparently they figured out how to hit again, because they've been kind of feast or famine.
Yeah,
yesterday they were famine.
But Whit Merrifield didn't play yesterday for the Royals, and it broke what I think it kind of goes under the radar streak of the over 550 straight games that he had started, and he didn't play. He's got a toe injury, which is pretty impressive. He started that streak in 2018. The Royals were 31 games under 500 when they put Merrifield into the starting lineup. And during the course of his streak, which ended yesterday prior to game one of that doubleheader, the Royals are 101 games under 500. And if you're the Royals brass, you're like, Whit, can you get healthy? You were starting to really hit well before you got injured. We've got August 2nd coming up. Somebody surprisingly might have some interest in you. Can you get healthy, please? Can you get back? Can you play a couple of games after the All-Star break?
Yeah, unfortunately, they probably blew their chance.
Yeah, that window to move Whit probably is a couple years too late. But somebody may go, man, we need a bat off the bench, or we need a utility guy that could play in the infield or in the outfield. Why don't you give us Benintendi and Merrifield, and we'll call it good. By the way, Carlos Santana, who got traded to Seattle to open up the spot for Vinny Pasquantino. Carlos Santana is actually hitting pretty well in Seattle, and he was hitting pretty well before Kansas City traded him away.
See what happens with a little bit over time, but on the other tail end of that, the old guy's still looking like he can hit. How about the young guys? Like, are the Rays not the craziest franchise ever? They don't do anything conventional. They get these random obscure guys. I mean, they're good. They're good players, especially coming out of their farm system, because they were pretty stocked for a sec. But they just plug and play. At some point, I'm gonna stop saying, "Man, you know what? Like this, I'm good on the Rays. I'm good on the Rays. I'm good on the Rays." They just they keep finding a way. You get the terrible news about Wander.
Yep, Margot has already been injured.
No Kiermaier right now, and it's like, I thought that was an important game yesterday against the Sox, and they answered the dinner.
Yeah, well, the American League East, man.
No easy ones.
Nope. All right, welcome in everybody. Sharp Betting in the Morning is already underway. As you can tell, our clubhouse is in good shape, much better than the Chicago White Sox clubhouse.
Yeah, they got two important series before the All-Star break. We'll see what they end up doing.
Yeah, they got a week before I say goodbye to them, but they have no fire, they have no passion. They got beat yesterday. There's Damon. I'm Gary Chance here as well with all of you on a Tuesday morning. I got to give the official countdown. We're now 46 days away from the start of the college football season around here.
Is that Brian Shaw? Is Brian Shaw 46?
You could throw in Doug Coleman.
I'm team B Shaw. Love Doug Coleman.
You remember that we have tried so hard to get Doug Coleman an assistant coaching job here.
Yeah.
He kind of went under the radar out of New Jersey, but God, how important was he in his time at Nebraska? I mean, the guy just made plays at linebacker.
Yeah, he was good.
Eric Martin wore 46.
Oh yeah, Okie
Ed
State,
Cunningham's favorite player
at Okie State. Eric Martin.
Was Eric Martin known more for just blowing things up? He was a good special teams guy.
Although his last year he turned into a little more well-rounded.
And he got a couple of games in the NFL, correct? Didn't he play with the Browns briefly?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think so.
And then I think, because I saw a picture of him, and we know him here in Omaha, I'm pretty sure Tony Felici wore 46.
Yeah, he came up in a conversation Sunday.
Pride of Omaha Central.
Yeah, a couple of older folks that went to school when my dad was there were she's asking me about my dad and all the people she went to school with. And Tony Felici was one of them. And she said, "Is he still a knucklehead?" Like, that's
Yeah.
a generational
Yeah,
term,
yeah.
right? And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. I get along with him because I think he's hilarious. But yeah, it was that's funny. He just came up.
So if the story, if I remember correctly, because I wasn't, of course, following Nebraska football back then, is he was only about 200 pounds playing defensive end? Wasn't he all
Tony?
Big 8 defensive end
Maybe
back in the
200 pounds,
early 80s?
200 pounds. Is that?
And he's not a very big guy at all right
Man,
now.
that sounds kind of light.
It's like some of those guys back in that era, late 70s, early 80s,
Mhm.
like we interact with that, have
Different
retired here in
functions and
Omaha.
stuff, yeah.
Like you look at Andy Means.
Yeah.
And you go, how did you play defensive back at the size that you were? And then you look at a guy like Tony Felici and go, how did you play defensive end at that weight? Do you not see what today guys look like? Because here in a little bit, yesterday was a good day for Nebraska football. By the way, you and your committee or whatever, you're still on the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame committee,
Mhm.
right? Thank you. You guys did something that I'm going to need some help with about an individual that is going into the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame that I don't think gets enough respect. And I'm glad to see yesterday that you guys recognize Mr. Finotti
Mhm.
because he deserves to be in the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame, but he is rarely talked about. But what he did in his 3 years, because he went pro early, is incredible. And he's also one of my favorite guys ever to interact with.
He was so good. Is so ridiculous.
As a 19-year-old. Remember, he also, Jake Young, Will Shields, and then it was Finotti that started on the offensive line as freshman.
He was unbelievable.
He was doing stuff as a 19-year-old.
you.
Now, the thing about Finotti that the first time I ever met him, and in the old setup where where you did the interviews in the South Stadium, is you'd like go out in the hall, or they'd bring you into a special room. The first time I ever interviewed Finotti, and he didn't, he was quiet. He wasn't very bombastic, didn't like to talk, but he was always like laughing every time I saw him. The guy had a head the size of a keg.
Yeah.
He had a gigantic head. Chance, I'm not kidding. Chance, you got a big head. Finotti's head was monstrous.
Yeah.
And his calves,
It's a big, strong.
his
kid.
calves were as wide as this building.
So they're a bison.
Oh, he was a mammoth individual. I mean, he was a Samoan
He was
who,
a great player.
and his dad actually, they came to one of his last games, and I remember interviewing, dad was bigger than son. And again, son played at 6'3", 6'4", 250 or 350.
340 probably.
Yeah, monster of a man. But he was doing things again as a 19-year-old on the offensive line, and he gets forgotten. Now, I think any top 10 offensive lineman list at Nebraska should include Finotti. He's probably not gonna break into your top 5 because that's an exclusive fraternity, like the top 5 offensive linemen of all time at Nebraska. But on the back,
hard to discern too.
But on the back 5, Finotti has to be included. So I was glad to see that yesterday, along with Prince went in, and then one of the meanest guys I think I've ever met in Bruce Pickens, among others that went in yesterday.
I mean, he was okay. He wasn't mean. He just loved him. He just loved himself. Bruce Pickens was a guy that you'd go third person on you. Yeah.
He had the bling.
Oh yeah. He was cool before. He was way cool. Can you imagine him and D-Rock or Dana Brinson? I mean,
Yep.
man. And then you got Tyrone Hughes right during that stretch. Ooh, wait.
So Pickens came back. This was probably maybe the spring game 94 before the 94 season, and he was with the Falcons. He struck me as a guy that you do not want to mess with.
Yeah. It's funny. I think Atlanta, I think Falcons, I think we were just talking about Finotti who went to Oceanside. another Falcons DB that's from Oceanside, Michael Booker,
Mhm.
who was a high draft pick for the Falcons as well.
So we're going to talk more because I got more on Finoti. You can't just a guy that has a head that is as big as a beer keg, and the intensity that he had for a Samoan. I hope people are with me that Finoti should get mentioned more.
Was he Samoan?
Mhm.
I know he's born in Hawaii. Yeah, he is, man. He had this super long name. I can't even really say it all, but I think Tony was the first part.
Yes.
Was it Lala Vela?
It went on and on and on.
Lala Vela.
Yeah. You know, his parents, their home in Hawaii, they got CNN and then a local channel. He had no idea what like ESPN was when he came to Nebraska. But he was, look, he was on a fairly good offensive line. I mean, look, the 99 offensive line is not bad.
No.
I mean,
Not at
and he
all.
was here the same time that Dom was. But I was glad to see that yesterday because of the offensive lineman that played as a true freshman. That is a small group. And then, he was out of here. He left early. He went to the draft early. But gosh, he was a monster of a man. I mean, but he's very rarely talked about. So we're going to talk about him today. All right, coming up a little bit later on the show, Sam McEwen's going to join us at 7:30. As we are a couple of weeks away from media days and camp opening up. Big 12 media days are coming up in Dallas, or actually at either Jerry's World or the Star in Frisco. I think they're back at Jerry's World. There'll be a lot of attention on the Big 12 coming up. Mark Schipper will join us coming up, new guest. We're excited to introduce him to all of you from Fifth Down College Football. And then Ellie French stepping in for AK will join us today.
Well, she's been everywhere.
Yeah. AK doesn't leave the studio. You got Matt and Ellie all over the place. But they make a good threesome over at KTV. So we get Ellie on coming up a little bit later. The lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. Also, a little bit later, Mark Whipple spoke last night on Sports Nightly. I like listening to him. He's very low key.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of matter of fact. You can tell he's been in the game a long time.
Very much just a conversationalist. It's like sitting down and just fucking shop. I mean, that's kind of who he is. He can hold court too. He doesn't have to really try or be the smartest guy in the room. He's just a talker.
All right, 6:29. If you'd like to join the conversation and you'd like to be on Team Finoti this morning, 951-1620. That'd be cool to see him back. He owns his own company. He's been out of the NFL, of course, for a while. When you are that large of a man, sometimes your knees break down.
Yeah, except all those guys are a lot more fit. I don't know about him, but it seems like those guys get in better shape as they get older. I mean, seriously. Zach and Rob and Brendan and those guys, just Joe Wilkes. Those guys they just seem more fit.
They do. And you run into him, go, you played.
Saw Adam Jones a couple months ago. I know his back.
There you go. There's another guy that played on offensive line with Finoti.
Had chronic back problems, but he looked good. It's just like, I don't know what those guys do.
All right, 630-951-1620. You can always email us at any time into the Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally. Gary or Damon at 1620thezone.com or on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed.
Twitter.
At Gary Sharp 1620, at Damon Benning, or at Sharp and Benning. Also, sometime this week, our good friend John Oran has said that the second round of bids for the Big Ten media rights will come in. Hello, ESPN. I guess ESPN is reignited in their quest to have the Big Ten under their umbrella as well.
Yeah, here we go.
Fox and the Big Ten. Now, that would be the best of both worlds for the Big Ten. ESPN, you can have SEC. Big Ten, we get both networks.
Try to figure out how they divvy it up. They, with first rights of refusal and all that other stuff, it'd get interesting in a hurry.
When you add USC and UCLA, I think you could get to the fourth game on your weekend conference schedule. Is still pretty enticing.
Yeah.
If that comes to Amazon or NBC Sports.
Especially if either one of those two teams gets pretty good.
All right, 6:31, off and running on a Tuesday edition. Going up on a Tuesday, 1620 The Zone. Welcome to Amazon Prime Day. If you participate, I noticed when I was leaving this morning, my neighbor, who I'm not sure if they're home, Amazon packages are starting to pile up. The Amazon driver in my neighborhood was out at 5 a.m.
Hey, mine drives fast. He gets it in.
I would think that your house
Playing me, yeah.
does a lot with Amazon.
Yes, indeed. It's a little much. A lot of much, actually, but who am I?
Are you in your Amazon Prime?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
sure.
and a lot of
Although
people.
although I did just get some cereal through Amazon Prime.
Okay.
I won't, since they don't advertise, but I found Waffle Crisp online. It's only five. It's five. I don't know, 5 something for the big box.
Some people look at Amazon in their household as a negative. Some will say this is the best thing that's ever happened. Now, how Amazon has changed is we're going to have to find, like you, to share passwords because we're going to need Amazon to watch NFL football this upcoming season. And we may need, as it sounds like Apple has dropped out of the Big Ten bidding rights, that Amazon is still engaged. So now you're going to need Amazon.
And they're back.
You're going to need Amazon to watch your football, but the Thursday night package is exclusively on Amazon, unless you're in the home market and you get the game. But if you're not, you got to find a way to get Amazon, which will be very interesting to see how sports bars navigate that Thursday night.
Yeah, I think we were kind of talking about that every now and a little while ago about the unintended consequences of businesses having to utilize streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that's going to look like. Right? I mean, is Sunday Ticket and Red Zone really going to streaming services?
I mean, does your price go up? But how does it? You got to go through some hoops to stream depending on the size of your bar. How does it work with Amazon? Because in the first year of Thursday Night Football on Amazon, they're giving them a good schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, so people that are coming, the first Amazon game is Kansas City and the Chargers. People are going to want to watch that game. You got to find a way to get that at your bar. I mean, you're not dialing into the NFL Network or Fox or whatever. So you're going to have to stream it off of something. And, of course, have a good picture. But speaking of rights, another round of TV bids are coming in for the Big Ten. I was alluding to this in the last segment. So John Oran says that ESPN, NBC, and Amazon are still in play. CBS is still interested, but ESPN and NBC got more engaged. NBC, when UCLA and USC joined the conference.
So apparently they do want to do sports. They answered your question.
Which is kind of surprising because it seems like everywhere you look, they're trying to kill off their sports. Now, this weekend, they have the Open, and USA Network is carrying some of it. And of course, I think everything is on Peacock. But because of John Oren was estimating when UCLA and USC said we're in, and they bring the number 2 market in all of America, television market, and hey, college football realignment is based off your TV set. It's not based off a competition on the field. Is 150 million more in revenue. Join the fray. 150 million more was thrown into the pot of rights in bidding. Now, the other part of the bidding, because this brings Notre Dame into the conversation, and we hurry up and wait to see what Notre Dame is going to do. How soon do you think, because this plays a lot into Notre Dame, and I think it also plays, well, ESPN and Fox have money, when the next era of the playoff begins, what the format will look like, and then what the television rights will look like for the playoff.
So the playoffs, I don't think we have to worry about for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I bet you they. I was going to say they piecemeal it, but I don't think they can. Just depends on how many teams it may or may not be. I mean, would one network or one family of networks have all 8 or 12 teams?
Remember, that's kind of why we're a little bit where we're at now.
A little.
Because of ESPN owning everything.
Yeah. Can you imagine them just piecemealing that thing out?
Ooh. It would
Hey, your
it would be better for
your,
the
your
game.
conference, your network affiliation. Hey, if our team's in the playoffs, we're the higher seed. We want that game. Something like that. I don't know.
Or it's just like they do with the Super Bowl. It's a
Rotating schedule.
one network gets maybe both semifinals or however they're going to have it. But if you're Notre Dame, that's kind of what you're waiting on. You can afford to wait, and you're waiting to see what the playoff looks like. What if ESPN continues their heavy-handed in the playoff, and they know that Notre Dame is thinking about the Big Ten, and ESPN says, hey, Sankey, what if we did this? Let's make sure that Notre Dame can be in the playoff as an independent.
Hey, get Greg on line 1.
And Notre Dame says, yeah, we'll stay as an independent. We can make the playoff. Come on, yeah. So you keep them away from the Big Ten and you keep them away from Fox.
Yeah.
I mean, this is juicy.
Petty.
See, this is so much better than talking about portal and NIL. Is talking about conference football
Petty.
realignment. Yeah, everything is petty.
Block.
Yeah, the whole damn sport is petty. But until the playoff gets some structure and some clarification for like Notre Dame's not going to do anything.
Oh.
They don't need to.
Until you have to be conference affiliated. They'll cross that bridge when it comes, I guess.
But we're looking at the massive TV contract that the Big Ten is getting. And it's not like the SEC is not getting anything from ESPN. I mean, ESPN they went and borrowed a couple of banks to pay the SEC. Okay, what do you have left? Because when the playoff comes up again, that's like the cherry on top is you want to have the playoff on your network. Does ESPN have enough money? Does Fox have enough money that they can outbid the either one to have exclusive rights? Or maybe in a sport where we don't really have cross promotion or we have cross cooperation, ESPN and Fox say, hey, let's don't kill our bottom line. Let's try and put this together where we can do it and we'll do it for the best of the sport.
Who's using the term share?
I have this pipe dream in college athletics that we will talk about cooperation and sharing.
Okay, share. We're going to share.
We will make it best for the sport.
Doesn't quite sound right.
No, but are we ever going to get to it where, Saban yesterday was talking about competitive balance. There's no parity in college football. That's kind of what has.
He's just talking.
That's kind of what has made college football. There's not parity.
Didn't they just get Lonergan yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Competitive balance. He said some people want the college football to be like the NFL where a lot of teams go 8-8. Well, if you want that, you'll love the Big Ten West this year. There's a lot of competitive balance in the Big Ten West division this seems this year. But college football is not built on parity. It's just not. It's built on the haves and the have-nots, and it's been that way since I've been alive.
Hey, what if you saw 4 teams go 10-2? Is that pared down enough?
You mean across college football?
Yeah.
I think that would be great for the sport.
14, just have 4 teams to 10-2. See, that would interest. See, and that's not a ton of teams. It's still only 4.
Mm-hmm.
But at 10-2, at least you don't feel like that dusted off. If you're not, you know what I mean? But it's my point in saying that is maybe it doesn't take much for us to give us that illusion.
I agree.
Maybe if Cincinnati makes another run, I mean, they'll probably get blown out again, but whatever. Best wishes with no Ritter. Or somebody like that, because I keep hearing with this expansion, the wealth of distribution of talent will eventually be leveled. And I don't know. Recruiting still looks shoot, man. I was looking at some list, which, by the way, wasn't very well done when I looked at some of the rankings, but maybe it was Gas Can. Somebody posted 1995 or 4 or the top 100.
Oh, the Tony Ortiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of those schools were still popping up. A lot of the same schools.
Yep.
So, what are we talking about? I was even seeing, now Bama was coming off the George Teague and Antonio Langham, that 92 season. But, Bama was getting ready to be on their 3rd coach in 6 years. And they were still represented in the top 100.
Okay, so let me give you, this is the top 100 players that graduated high school in 95. Dan Kendra.
Yeah, FSU.
Kevin Falk went to LSU. Amon. Randy Moss. First said yes to Notre Dame. Matt Stincombe, Georgia. Brock Heward, Washington. Wow. R.W. McQuarters, remember him?
Yeah.
Oklahoma State.
That's new. Maybe, that's kind of new.
McCutcheon went to USC.
That's not new.
Yeah, there's Notre Dame, Penn
Not
State,
new, not
Texas
new,
A&M,
not
Tennessee,
new,
Notre Dame,
not
Michigan
new,
State,
not
Florida,
new.
Florida. Reggie McGrew. Some of these names are.
I
This is
did
going to
not
Wayback
realize
Machine.
that
Tim-
Derek Allen, look at like number 63 or 64. He never played for us. Was he
Yeah,
63 or 64?
62.
Yeah.
Derek Allen from Arkansas.
Yeah. I remember he got in a huge fight.
Yeah, what wasn't he sent home?
Yeah, might have been.
Yeah, I think he was kind of told to leave.
Yeah.
Tim Ritter on the same list, the prep lineman who ended up at Notre Dame.
Looks a lot the same.
Yeah, it does. It does. The question will be as Texas and Oklahoma join the SEC and USC and UCLA join the Big Ten, which the SEC is not allowing USC and UCLA to join before Texas, Oklahoma. There will become the conversation in college football outside of the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Alabamas. What is considered a good season? Because you're the
If
quality
you're everybody
of
else,
competition.
that's what I'm telling
Is it going
you.
to be? Is it
It's
going to be?
It's
is
9 wins.
9
It's
wins is
9
going to be
wins.
considered a good season in
Yes.
college football moving forward.
If the top 3% stays the top 3%, because they'll be the 5 schools that get the double digits.
9-3, good season in college football.
Yeah, 9-3 is a good college football season.
Might not get you in the playoff, but
How many teams are
Good
going to
season.
win? How many teams are going to win double-digit games? 4 or 5?
in
Am I misremembering?
the power conferences,
Just
It's gonna be
just
tough.
on average, like 2019 college football rankings. I just picked an arbitrary number. Whoa, that's not a good year to pick. There were 9 teams that won, 10 teams that 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Wow. There were 17 teams that won double digits.
in 2019.
15-0 LSU, 14-1 Clemson, 13-1 Ohio State, 12-2 Georgia, 12-2. Oregon was just 12-2 in 2019. Man, I forgot. Florida, 11-2 in 2019. Oklahoma, 12-2. Bama, 11-2. Penn State, 11-2. Minnesota, 11-2. Wisconsin won 10. Notre Dame won 11. Baylor won 11. Iowa won 10. Utah won 11. Memphis won 12. There were listen, of the top 25 teams in 2019, how many teams do you think won 10 games?
The list you just rattled off. What did you say? 15?
I'm off. Now you messed up my count. Give you time to think. Of the top 25.
Oh, 7.
So I'll tell you the teams that didn't of the top 25. Auburn was 9-4. Michigan was 9-4. Texas was 8-5. Everyone else, 22 teams finished with double-digit wins. 22. That seems high.
Can you scroll to the bottom and find how many teams failed to win more than 3?
Ooh, that's going to take some doing. Complete rank. Failed to win more than 3?
Yeah, because if you're going to have that many at the top, we probably had a lot of teams at the bottom.
It will not allow me to do complete rankings.
Yeah.
That seems high. Doesn't it?
Yes.
Let me go to 2021 and make it. I could just be all the way on drugs. Nope, I'm not. I am on drugs because 9 wins apparently isn't a good season. Because of the top 25 in 2021, only 2 did not win 10 games.
Okay.
So 9 may be kind of average. It's not average. It's God, 10 wins gets you top 25 though.
Yeah, but 9 wins. 9 wins, you got to be sitting.
Okay, but so 2019 and 2021, 5 total teams had less than 10 wins, and they're all in the top 25, but 5 out of 50?
So 9 regular season wins, throw in a bowl win.
Man,
But
you better get cracking.
nine wins with the new SEC and the Big Ten.
I'm all the way on here, Ron. That seems like a ton.
That when you were going through 2019, I thought that was an outlier. Apparently not.
Okay, so 6 teams in 2018 didn't win 10 in the top 25. Still, though, 19 did.
Yeah. All right, 6:51. Sam McEwen's
Hey,
coming up next hour.
So maybe the 9 isn't enough crowd for Nebraska was on to something. Because 9 does not appear to be enough.
Fremont Fred wins an award because he was the first in on Bo. Should have kept Bo at 9-3.
Man. Now, this is interesting. So, because I'm kind of closer to this thought process with Notre Dame. Okay, listen to this. Notre Dame's decision to join a conference isn't driven by access to the playoff. It will be driven by resources. They currently are getting $50 million a year less than their Big Ten and SEC peers. At some point, that catches up. They just lost a coach who fought for years to get facility upgrades and eventually said uncle and went to LSU. To add extra pressure on Notre Dame and the NIL component, the NIL component has been added in. Effectively, that will shift. This is kind of an estimate, but I see where he's maybe getting it from. Effectively, that will shift $10 million of donor money, roughly a year, away from the AD and to NIL. Is that about right? One kitty going to the other? Okay. Let's say it's 10. Thus further pressuring Notre Dame on the lack of media rights money. Notre Dame is quickly reaching a crossroads. So you do need upgrades. You do need upgrades at Notre Dame. You couldn't work it out with your coach.
Mm-hmm.
50 mil. Is that number really? Is the number $50 million difference?
It's
close. It's close.
The ACC TV contract is what, 36 mil? Now, if Notre Dame committed to the ACC for all sports, then you would open the door for ESPN to redo the contract. But you're not getting anywhere near what you'd get in the Big Ten.
Yes,
I was going to say,
not even Notre. Yeah,
for Notre Dame to even get close, which I think the max would be about 80% of what they would get out of the Big Ten. You'd need ESPN to up the contract to in the 50s, and you'd need NBC to up their contract.
Yeah, NBC would have to step up.
See, I think there's a lot of moving parts with Notre Dame because I do believe access.
I'm kind of vibing.
But there's access to the playoff. There's another part. How does Notre Dame get access to non-playoff bowl games? ACC gives you that.
They have to bid. Yeah, they get those standings.
Yep.
Auto bursts. Interesting.
But again, Notre Dame can just sit back and wait, weigh their options, listen to proposals, see what happens. The SEC yesterday, 2 confirmed reports. Matt Hayes and Dennis Dodd said the SEC is staying at 16, which not a surprise.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. Yeah,
you know what?
We kind of thought they would.
They don't really have a need for more. You have to look at it this way. And you know, the SEC has always had a plan when they've expanded. It's, for the most part, made sense. Did Mizzou make sense? But everything has a Southern-type brand to it. So really only on the table would be a Florida State and a Clemson. But there becomes a part of the money that you take in for your respective members is you can get diminishing returns.
Yeah.
And I think that's how the SEC is looking at it. And you know what? Quite honestly, maybe the Big Ten is doing the same thing after adding 2 and waiting on Notre Dame.
Hey, but those teams that are kind of on the outside looking in to get in, those teams are getting some eyeballs, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. Right? The Oregons, the Washingtons, the Notre Dames. There's a reason that those teams are in the discussion. It's interesting. Jordan asked, because I thought this is where you may go, with the playoff expansion talking the top 25. Jordan asked how many teams are non-Power 5 that were in the top 25 of the 9-win teams. In 2018, none. The 9-win teams were A&M, Penn State, and Iowa. In 2019, the 9-win teams: Auburn, Power 5; Michigan, Power 5; Texas at 8-5, slid in at 25, Power 5. In 2021, the 9-win non-Power 5 teams. Okay, so this is furthering the Bo discussion that 9 wasn't going to be enough. Arkansas, 9 wins, Power 5.
Mm-hmm.
NC State, 9 wins, Power 5. Everybody else in there. There were no non-Power 5s. That's
a
crazy.
rough world to live in.
That's crazy.
That's why BYU and UCF and
shoot,
Houston
BYU
and-
won 10 in this one.
and Cincy are all happy to go to the Big 12 beginning in 23. All right, 6:56. Trent, stay right there. We got to take a break.
My
We're up
mind
against
is
it.
blown. I opened up something I didn't even want to go down.
Sam
rabbit hole.
McEwen's going to join us in the next hour. Also, this morning, we will welcome in, coming up at 9 o'clock, Mark Schipper from Fifth Down College Football. And then Ellie French stops by. Going to be a busy week. There's going to be some basketball. The TBT tournament's going on down at Sokol. The
Yeah.
Blue Crew, which will have a hometown crowd and hopefully a move on to Dayton after 3 wins.
If I was here on the 16th, I definitely would go.
Great event. They're promoting the heck out of it. Hopefully they have a great crowd.
Yeah, did you see Dougie Mack's little?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, come on out.
They put together an interesting team.
Yeah,
it was fun. I remember watching it last year in Wichita, rooting for the Blue Crew to make it to where I don't think it was Dayton last year to make a mill. I think it was in Columbus.
It's a lot of money, man.
A mill?
Yeah.
No. Compared to the Big Ten?
Hey, my man.
Listen to us, million. Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with French hat for lack of a better term. My guy said Nebraska may never be in the top 25 again. All of us are talking 7-8 wins. See, that's why I couldn't recalibrate. We're talking 7 or 8. Man, Sips thought 9 would be like Herculean. That barely get you in the top 25.
But we're just talking for this year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But hey, one at a time.
Yeah, baby steps.
Bro.
Baby steps. Sometimes babies fall down. They run too fast. Their legs are too big. They got Finoti legs.
Are you not surprised so few teams in the top 25 don't have
Yeah, I got to think on that one. We're going to do this. We'll do this during the break.
I'm going back down to I pick a year.
All right, Sharp and Betting in the morning. Chance in is well today on 1620 The Zone.
Woodhouse Chevy. Looking for a vehicle? Well, stop on out of Missouri Valley for all your vehicle needs. You can shop the inventory in-store or online at woodhousegm.com. Whether it's a car, truck, an SUV, new or certified, pre-owned, experience the Woodhouse difference and shop with confidence. That's kind of the key. You got to know what you're doing. You have to be willing to ask the questions. Why? Because the sales staff, it's educated, it's friendly, pretty eager to help too. They're not just going to meet your expectations. They will exceed it. Timely responses too, they kind of make you feel important, considerate of your time and needs, allowing for you to provide a quick, efficient, and almost darn near pleasant purchasing experience. Schedule a test drive today, and that's what I did. It's the way to go. It gives you options. You got a ton of range in terms of vehicles that you're looking for. And remember, when you stop out at Woodhouse Chevy or visit woodhousegm.com with Chevy, you can always find new roads.
One thing yesterday, the SEC confirming a couple reports that they are very comfortable at 16 is it does give some clarity to the Big 12 and Pac-12 what to do moving forward. Be curious to see how much the new commissioner of the Big 12 at their media days goes into the realignment chatter, because the Big 12 apparently has been aggressive, or at least that's what we're led to believe, because all this stuff is behind closed doors. We just speculate on the radio or in print or on television. And we talked to Trent on Sharp and Betting in the morning. Good morning, Trent. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, guys.
Trent, what's up, buddy?
I was at quite a large basketball event this weekend in Kansas City, the Nike Eyeball refereeing down there, and it was widely known amongst high-level Division I basketball coaches, and I have not seen a media report on this, but Notre Dame has been given 90 days by the Big Ten to make a decision.
I could definitely see that. Right? So that puts them, shortly after the start of the season. Because I think the Big Ten, the media rights deal, they'd want to know in or out by the time they start. They got to move the timeline up, right?
You would think it would be 60 days and not 90 days, but I think the Big Ten has wanted them for so long. They're giving them every opportunity to make a decision, and it just seems logical that they would move in that direction. And all these head coaches that I talked to they were all Power 5 head coaches, seem to think that it was definitely going to happen.
Yeah. Well,
Trent, thanks for the call.
I appreciate the call, Trent. I wonder who was playing in that EYBL.
There were some pretty good players.
Yeah, and there were three big tournaments around the country that were pretty much EYBL centric.
I know there were. Just because I read an article yesterday, Kansas had a couple of targets that were playing in it, like top level players that were in Kansas City.
Hey, I don't know if you want to be depressed or encouraged, but go back and find the nine wins in the top 25. Oddly enough, 2011 Nebraska was one of them at 9-4 when they finished 24. Guess how many other 9-win teams there were in the top 25 that year?
4 others.
1. Wow. And it was FSU ranked right above them at 23.
Oh, we've uncovered something today.
We thought 8 was enough. Shoot, 9 isn't either.
Sharp and Benning in the morning on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Here are Gary Sharp and Damon Benning.
So Nabil, who came on to get the final 2 outs of the 7th, looks like he's going to work the 8th. As Abrams hits this one in the air to deep right field, Grichuk looking up. This one's going to go over the out-of-town scoreboard here at Coors Field, and a 3-run homer for Abrams puts some distance between the Padres and Rockies. 6-2 San Diego.
Welcome back in. Sharp Betting in the morning on a Tuesday morning. Did you see the report out of Los Angeles that the concession stand workers might vote to go on strike, not work the All-Star game next Tuesday?
Oh, wow. What a debacle.
There'd be no Dodger dogs. That would be a major debacle.
Overrated. I know they're a cultural icon and at the Ravine, but much better menu items at Chavez.
I had it once.
I'm dead serious.
I'm with you.
It's way overrated.
So, do you think they would allow people to go to the All-Star game and bring your own food?
No.
Who doesn't go to games and bring your own food? The only thing they really check is how many bottles you're bringing in. Like you're bringing in, most people nowadays, they let you have one water bottle. You're not like sneaking in alcohol. Who doesn't bring their own food to ball games these days?
I don't know.
Sneak in some snacks?
What do you put beef jerky in your pocket? Why are these dogs sniffing my leg?
I've never in my life put beef jerky in my pocket.
What would you sneak into the ballpark? Candy. That's not even real. It's not even food.
Do
you know those people that say, "Oh, I'm hungry. Do you have any candy?"
Yeah.
How's that gonna satiate the appetite?
Yeah,
9-year-olds.
I'm not eating candy at a ballpark.
Right. If you're 4.
But I'll sneak in a bag of peanuts, and then I'll buy the beer.
Peanuts, actually, good form of sustenance. If you were going to go without eating for a while, I would grab a couple handfuls of peanuts.
Would people be okay if they upped your ticket price by about $5-7, but you could bring in your own food and drink? Just like NASCAR, you bring in your own cooler?
$5-7?
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit more.
Oh, $5 or $7 for sure.
I'm putting a surcharge of $10 on your ticket, but you can bring your own.
Can you imagine old Franklin walking around with a Slim 5 in his pocket? He's like, Sharpie, what are you doing? I got a Slim 5, add bacon.
I mean, I'd be okay.
Put a can of soda in your pocket.
I feel like that would be okay because there's clearly some people who are just going to not understand the etiquette of this, and you're just going to see some dude with a thermos full of soup sitting next to you.
Yeah, maybe if it's cold.
Ooh, yeah.
But the problem is with no concession stand is by the time you park and walk and man, whatever you have better be able to kind of like the anti-new edition. They're always talking about, can you stand the rain? Can you stand the heat? Right?
Trail mix.
Yeah, okay.
LeBron was sitting courtside the other night eating trail mix he brought from his home. I'm sure he made it himself.
A homemade Ziploc.
He's like us.
Oh, I totally embrace that. My mom, we would be the family with the sandwich in the Ziploc bag. We would never go to concession stands. She would put the can of Shasta in foil.
Oh, yeah. That is such a mom move.
To conserve the cool temp. We put it in the freezer for a little while, but oh yeah, we weren't paying for anything.
Oh, hey, the soda wrapped in tinfoil.
Yeah.
That is such a mom move.
That's the thing, man.
Yes.
I thought it was a black thing. Good to see you guys are on it too.
Oh no, it was a white thing. Or maybe it's just a cool thing. I consider myself cool. Sharps were cool. To blow your mind, the first time you go to a NASCAR race and you see people bringing in like coolers, you're like, whoa, what is this? What is this going on?
If there were room for a cooler, they should let you take a little lunchbox size.
Oh, geez. there ain't room for humans in Memorial Stadium.
A little sandwich, your little thing of baby canister of Pringles, and a juice box.
Should have done that at my brother's graduation.
My God, Shane would go to more games. Speaking of large humans, can I just you're on with me that Finoti is in the top 10 offensive linemen in Nebraska, correct? Like the back end.
Yeah. It's a very distinguished group. There's so many good ones.
Yeah. So-
you realize I'm still traumatized by the 9-win thing.
I know you are, but Finoti was on a team that won at least 9 games. A lot of these guys were on a team that won at least 9 games.
2013 gives me hope because there were 5 teams that had 9 wins. That's the only year I can find. And
So-
the last 15.
That's a long time ago.
2013.
Yeah. A lot has changed in the college football landscape since 2013.
Yeah, Breaking Bad was on in 2013.
Better Call Saul. Did you watch that last night?
Saving Grace. There were 6 in
did not.
2014. Let's go.
Nicely done. Another television show that was probably on air in 2013.
What?
Saving Grace
What was that show?
was on NBC.
Saving Grace?
Mhm.
I think I've heard of it, but I can't. Nothing's coming to me.
Oh, it was off the air by then.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that show.
All right.
I don't think.
Small town English widow facing financial troubles after her husband's suicide turns to agriculture of illegal kind.
Whoa.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she grew her own business. She's an entrepreneur.
Then Holly Hunter had a
Mother
Saving
Earth?
Grace TV series on
What do they call
TNT.
those people?
People of the Earth, granolas.
No.
Can you say that?
No.
That's what they are. They
Man.
make a living off the earth. No Man Land. Go watch that movie. All right. By the way, Better Call Saul. That show, the writing on that show is incredible.
I've never seen it, so I'm going to take your word for it.
But you're going to catch up to it, right?
I doubt it. I feel too far behind.
Oh, you don't worry about it. You'll catch up.
I did just
Okay.
I did just binge one show in like as long as it took the shows to run. So I sat there for whatever 6 times 52 is.
Oh, that's a long time.
Is that 312 minutes?
Long time.
Yeah, whatever that is, that's what I did.
Maybe that's not necessarily a long time.
What is 6 times 52? Yeah, 312.
That's-
Bam. I'm rolling.
There you go. It's the off season. I mean, football doesn't start for 46 days.
And it was like 9:30 at night. What am I doing?
Going to bed, maybe thinking, hey, man, this might be a night that I get like 6 or 7 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I'm gonna wake up at the same time regardless. I need to be better. I need to be better.
Of sleeping?
Yeah. Lack of sleep stunts your growth. Although I probably stopped growing 20 years ago.
My hopes of being like 6'3" are over. So
Yeah.
I wanted to be 6'2", 6'3", and
Yeah.
I just never happened.
The team
My mom met dad, and
the teams got in yesterday late because they had to stay the night at South Carolina because they missed their flight. And I felt like either I'd shrunk or he'd grown. So I think that's a real thing, like rest, eating, and
Yeah.
recovery. At least that's the way I hear it. Do say granola.
Steve says, agree with you, Finoti, top 10 offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He was unbelievable.
Here,
There's a couple guys that get lost in that mix. There are some that may be a little more decorated,
mhm.
like my man Spence, Elkhorn's finest.
Yeah,
But man, like look at do you remember Carl Nix?
Yeah.
Carl Nix was really good.
he was. But I think the top 10 list of offensive linemen in Nebraska is like on a whole different planet.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, I can't attest like a guy like Ed Weir who gets brought up, but the man had a track named after him, so he's got to be.
Mhm.
But then there's, and you only hear about their ability and how dominant they were from a Bob Newton to a Bob Brown. Like I can't tell you about Bob Brown or Bob Newton or Ed Weir, but they're considered some of the best linemen ever. I can tell you about a Remington, a Steinkuhler, a Raiola, a
Aaron-
Wiegert,
And Aaron Taylor,
a Will Shields.
better pro than college player too. How about that
Yeah.
for Will?
And his college career was,
Pretty good. Later, better than early.
see, that's why I think Finoti is like, make a case 9 or 10. People will say Jake Young,
Yeah.
who also played as a freshman on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Zadiska probably will be considered. But this just adds to the 90s offensive line, and the 5 and then guys behind him were really good. You had some of the best linemen ever in the history of Nebraska football actually played on the same offensive line. How many times does that happen in a program's
With like
history?
Finoti and Raiola,
No, well,
or Steinkuhler and Remington.
no, you could go
Wiegert.
Taylor, Wiegert, Zadiska. I mean, some of what you would consider your program's best offensive linemen all played at the same time on the same line.
Yeah.
How rare is that?
Well, those guys are family.
Yeah.
Sister Sledge.
All right,
Or
720.
is it Brother Dredge. Aren't they We Are Family?
Sister Sledge?
I think so.
Yeah. You weren't dancing on the dugout in 79 when the Pirates were making their run to the World Series?
No, I like the other team in Pittsburgh.
That's fair, but they did wear black and gold.
Yeah, I didn't like the Pirate. I couldn't get into that. I would like to have made
You
that match.
the Cobra,
I
Bill Madlock, Phil
really would have
Garner,
liked to have made that
Ed Ott,
match, right?
Omar
Pirates,
Moreno,
Steelers, and Pirates were
Candelario,
good then too, but I
Colby.
thought their hats were ridiculous.
Yeah, and then when they would wear gold on gold,
I just didn't like them.
they're a fun team to watch.
Yeah,
I mean, who didn't want to root for Ed Ott?
me,
Little squatty body catching.
me.
You had Scrap Iron. That was what sports had nicknames. Scrap Iron, Cobra,
Go Scrap Iron.
Bill Garner. We called him
Oh,
Scrap
yeah,
Iron.
that's right. With the old twisted
Mhm.
duster.
Yeah, Bill Robinson. Yeah, those were fun times. John Candelaire, the Candyman.
He can.
Yes, he can.
That's fine. It's totally inappropriate, but since he is going to fight here, come up. You need to Google Adrian Broner and Can. One of the all-time epic post-fight game interviews, and Broner's had a few. He called himself the Can Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
African, Mexican. Google it.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, he's a trip.
Okay. German can. All right. Sam McEwen, a little bit later, Ellie French will join us, and also Mark Schipper. Jump in and talk some college football. More on the what's going to happen on the field upcoming. Again, Big 12 Media Days begin tomorrow down in the Metroplex. Adrian Martinez will be represented. Hey, talk about a conference that was known for its quarterbacks. Outside of Adrian Martinez and Spencer Sanders at Oklahoma State, and Dylan Gabriel to an extent at OU, rattle me off some quarterbacks in that league. That league has changed a little bit. Maybe the new Big 12 is built on defense.
Well, you're going to get a couple of more defensive-minded teams. We talked about that. Remember, I was like, gosh, remember when that was supposed to be Iowa State's calling card?
Yeah.
And quietly, here comes Okie State. Baylor. They lock you up. There'll be some teams that Cincinnati plays good defense. There'll be some teams that D up. Now, we'll see if it's about taking advantage of weaker competition or being good amongst your peers. Because Lord knows I've seen enough kids and players that can only function against average people. I'm about over that.
Sharp betting in the morning. 16-20, the zone. You've heard us giving the countdown to the start of the season, and you don't want to miss any Nebraska football games, home and away, whether they be in Ann Arbor or right here in Lincoln. And you can get some of the best seats from Tickets for Less, formerly Ticket Express, ticketsforless.com. Go there. You can compare. You can go to other sites, but you'll always keep coming back for Tickets for Less. That's where I go, whether I'm looking for sports tickets or recently a concert that I wanted to go to. Said, let's check out Tickets for Less. Let's see what the selection of the price is. And I was not disappointed. I was also not disappointed because you'll never pay those outrageous per ticket fees like you do on other sites with ticketsforless.com. So shop Nebraska tickets right now. You'll see the best available for the home games, including that big showdown against Oklahoma, or you want to go on the road to Ann Arbor or Iowa City or wherever else you want to go see a game. Kansas City, Minnesota, Denver, you can find it. Ticketsforless.com. All right, Sharp Betting in the morning. Sam McEwen's coming up here in a little bit as we welcome you back in on a Tuesday edition. Golf at its core. You want to be romantic? The old course at St. Andrews. The
Wait,
Open.
what? Oh, you mean romanticize with golf?
Yes.
You're not saying, hey, it's our anniversary. Let's go watch the Open. Unless she's an avid golfer. Now you'd probably think that was romantic.
And that would be awesome. Oh, that would be if to go there. I mean, that's a course that you kind of have to. And you will fall in love with golf if you watch this weekend in the race for the Claret Jug. I mean, Tiger's fallen in love with it. It's favorite course.
Don't you start talking about that Tiger hype.
So I think Tiger, this isn't going to be it, but he's going to empty the tank. This is probably the last time in a major that he will go all in because it's his favorite course. It's easier to walk. You've got the weather, the Scottish summer.
If you weren't going with sensationalism, come on, man.
No, I just want him to make it all 4 days. He's 60-1. I like Tony Finau.
No,
at 60-1.
no. Like you think this is like the last hurrah for an Open? It
For
will
a major.
It will be at Augusta.
But I don't think he feels like he can win at Augusta.
What?
I think he can win at this course. This course is
He
easier.
could play Augusta with his eyes closed.
Yeah, I think this course is easier, though. So this is like his last. Here we go.
Nah.
He's 46.
He's got one more in him somewhere.
Not what he used to be. I just want him to play all 4 days. That's all I'm looking for. It's a pretty cool week for him. I mean, he's hanging out with Rory. He's smiling. He built for he waited for this to get in shape.
Rory continues to run it too. My man was like, "Yeah, it'd probably be better if the Open champ wasn't playing on the Live Tour."
Yeah. Well,
okay, Rory.
So I was thinking about this, because Greg Norman is not invited.
He's running the risk of the Ja Morant treatment. You're going to get overexposed.
Yeah,
I like Rory a lot more like a month ago.
Well,
but now they keep shoving the microphone in front of him.
Yeah, and he's gone back and forth.
I'm like,
but he's, like all the other majors, he's got a good chance here.
Stop talking.
How many majors? So the current setup on the Live Tour, and who knows who else is going to join them. How many majors come off that tour? I said 2. I mean, you got DJs playing. I said 2. Well, as long as the Live Tour is around, there will be 2 majors won by Live golfers. I mean, it's not like they have the greatest collection of golfers, but they have an interesting list.
I'll take the under.
Okay.
I'll take the under.
All right. We will get more into the flat and playable St. Andrews course coming up tomorrow and, of course, on Thursday. So Sam McEwen's going to join us here in a little bit. Sam is pretty close to the best. The World Herald's doing their countdown. Today is 29. It's Kevin Williams. Kevin Williams at 29.
Yeah.
Do you think
his ascent is definitely expedited?
Yes.
Now he's one of those guys that I can say like firsthand does not really believe in an offseason. His commitment to doing outside work, working on his footwork and quickness and keeping his weight where they want it, has been pretty fantastic.
He would be a nice little X factor to have.
Yeah.
But do you think that Sam will include, because now we're to 29 in their countdown, and there's some usuals that'll be in your top 20 that you can figure out on your own. Do you think they have Fedoni in the top 50, or at least in the top 28?
Boy, some of the shine has come off a little.
Of Fedoni?
Yeah, and the weird thing is he's moving around pretty well.
Yeah, so isn't he the kind of the ultimate X factor for Nebraska?
Yeah,
I mean, we haven't seen him play college football, and now you got a couple of surgically repaired knees, and they haven't said boo about him. I mean, even when it went down,
I know,
you were expecting Frost to say something. He hasn't addressed it at all. But Fedoni keeps rehabbing and working out. Like at some point, sooner than later, not opening day, he's going to be back on the football field.
Yeah.
You've already got A.J. Rollins, who made great strides since we last saw Nebraska play. You got Vokalek, who could be in the running to be an all Big Ten type tight end.
We finally have
Brewington gives you a different element.
a hammer.
Um,
Who, and you know what? It's a shame. I shouldn't even say that. I'm sorry, Chancellor. Like, he can catch the rock too. They use him as a hammer because he embraces being a hammer. But I don't want to pigeonhole him. He's more talented than just a guy.
He's going to get the William Washington, Gerald Armstrong treatment.
He's a guy that could do more than smash things.
So here's what they should do with him. He gets the William Washington, Gerald Armstrong treatment.
R.I.P.
They throw you touchdown passes when you're in the red zone. And then you have Borkesher at tight end. So Fedoni probably is not in their top 50, but if he comes back,
he might be.
That's what I'm curious. So not top 50, he'd be in the top 28.
And Borkesher had a really good offseason.
So he's 45 on their countdown.
Fedoni's got to be ahead of Borkesher.
That's what I'm curious. We'll ask Sam. Is
he's not going to tell you.
Well, maybe he'll give us a hint. Is he in your top 28?
What if he just told you, read the paper, man?
Well, I'm reading the paper. You're not going fast enough.
What if he called you boy? I saw a TikTok yesterday where this guy was intentionally calling people boy in like random places like Costco and Walmart. Well, they weren't all black. Some of the guys looked like you too.
People says he's trying to start fights.
Yeah, he was having people film him.
Okay.
He'd say, hey, give me that shirt, boy.
I'd drive to Lincoln.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Sam would filibuster you out of even wanting to clench your fist.
That's okay. I'm not talking with my lips. I'm talking with my knuckles.
Wait, what happened to Sharpie? I don't know. He got slept by Sammy Mack. What happened? I don't know. He called him boy.
It happened. I'm quick.
Media on media crime. No, but for real though, like if Borkesher's 45, Thomas would have to be above him. Unless they just keep him out of it
because they don't think he's going to play
because he's been hurt.
And that's fair.
It doesn't really, for me, like if you ask me, like just to keep it, as the kids would say, 100, it doesn't matter who's at the tight end spot. If they're with Becton, they're better than the last time you saw them. I 100% absolutely agree with that. You cannot be around Coach Becton and play that position and not be better over time. He's almost the only one that can make that claim.
Yes. And no one's going to disagree with you.
Nobody has regressed on his watch.
So he's got a nice little stable. But the ultimate X factor for this team could be if Fedoni pops up at the end of September and actually gets on the field, and now you get to see what we saw when he was in high school.
Yeah, I don't want to overstate that. They'll be fine regardless. And I don't want to undersell him either, but it's not on my radar, really.
He popped up at the end of September and said, hello, boys.
It gives you another weapon.
But it is kind of the mystery. They haven't addressed. Remember when the injury happened in spring football and we were all expecting Frost to like come on a day he wasn't supposed to speak and say something?
Everybody had their own story about what really had happened.
The only thing I can remember him saying is he briefly said he's not available. They never said season ending, none of that stuff.
Yeah, because he's stuck. That's Scott's rule though, remember? He only addresses injuries if they're season ending. And he didn't, which should have let everybody know.
That could be the great unknown. So we'll see if Sam will bite.
How many running backs have we done? 2?
In the top 50?
Yeah.
Buy me a couple of seconds.
I can.
What do you? Well, how many do you think are in the top 50?
3.
No, so probably at the end of the day, but we're only to 29. So 29 to 50. Oh, Fedoni is in there. He's 37.
Yeah, I knew he'd be ahead of Borkesher.
Okay. Running backs, there is just 2
so far
in the 29 to 50 range.
Okay, who are they?
That would be Mr. Yant at 31 and Gabe Irvin, who did an event over in Council Bluffs with Fedoni the other day, is at 40.
I said 3. I would have made it 4, but I'm not going to whine over that.
Well, you're going to have Ramir. So you have 4. You still consider Ramir running back? You have Grant and Ramir in the top 28.
I do.
All right, so my apologies. I missed Fedoni. He is at 37. Good on the World Herald for including Fedoni. Could be Nebraska's top receiving tight end this season. If he's healthy, he'll be a dangerous weapon if the Huskers are allowed to use him. What does that mean?
Nothing.
Allowed to use him? What do you mean? There's a restriction? Sam comes next on Sharp Betting in the Morning on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, joint pain got you down? Are you suffering from a little arthritis? Maybe an old injury. You know, those traditional treatments, pain meds and steroids and surgery. You know those, right? Well, you got options. There's something new. There's a better way. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are here for you. QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. It's an advanced and exciting and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots can be toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those ways are out. There are new ways that are in. Regenerative medicine, it's the way to go. It can restore and repair damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics regenerative protocols can address any pain in any joint. Give yourself the quality of life you deserve. Call now and schedule your free consultation at 402 205 4960. That's 402 205 4960.
All right, welcome back. Sharp Betting in the Morning, 1620 The Zone, the app, the TV, wherever you can find us. Come in studio, 50th and Capitol. Stop by. We'll take a studio audience today. We never give people that option, but we do on this show.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
This guy always has a open door policy with us. Sam McCune of the World Herald joins us. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. Mid-July. Here we go.
I know. If you're a coach, fingers crossed, nothing goes sideways over the next 2 weeks before you report to camp. Before we brought you on, we were talking a little bit about the countdown, which has reached 29 that has Kevin Williams. Fidoni's at 37, and he's kind of a mystery guy depending on his health. How many tight ends do you expect to play significant game is in the balance snaps this year?
3 to 4. So you would have Vokalek, Nate Borkircher, Fidoni, Brewington. I don't know what you want to call his role, but I think he's valuable. Hickman, and then we'll see if there's another one. There's another guy who can play. But I would guess that they will utilize that many. I don't know if they'll have as many.
That's a quick 5, depending on how you slate Brewington. But I agree though.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if they'll have as many 2 tight end sets as they did last year. You know, going back and looking through Pittsburgh tape, Whipple is, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean this he's similar to Charlie Weiss in that he has a lot of 11 personnel. And Charlie Weiss is kind of like that. A tight end always, but a back and a tight end, and then 3 wide receivers. So I don't know if we'll see a lot of 2 tight stuff on first and second down, and we saw quite a bit of that last year. With the offense that they were running, but I do think you're going to see multiple guys. And when they get inside the 20, they're going to try to run the football and use some power.
Yeah, I think Becton is interesting because he may be the only coach that can say he hasn't coached a player that's had regression. They constantly get better on his watch.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm just kind of thinking in my head. Inside linebackers had a couple of pauses. Some people look at Miles Farmer and a couple guys in the secondary and think they might have come back to the pack. I don't think Becton has one.
I agree with you. You know, I think hopefully Hickman and Fidoni can stay healthy. I think that's a big piece there. And with Fidoni, there's really no guarantee at this point because once you've had a couple of these injuries, you really have to watch it from here on out. But Joe Dudoman had a couple injuries like this, and he recovered. He had what I would describe 3 relatively, 4, 3.5 relatively healthy seasons. And so, he didn't get badly injured in 2019, 2020, or 2021 in a way that had to keep him off the field, the hand thing notwithstanding. Honestly, if they were in the Big Ten title hunt, he would not have skipped the last 2 games. Fidoni's got to stay healthy. Hickman does too. But that group, I think, is relatively solid. And
now they got some options too, because we didn't even have to mention AJ Rollins, who's really come on as of late.
Yeah, so AJ is another name, and he is probably as athletic as anybody. I don't think he may not have the catch radius that Fidoni has, and he's not as big as Vokalek. Vokalek's going to play in the NFL.
And he's a big boy.
He's huge, and so. But Rollins has athleticism, I think, equal to or surpassing any of them. His best basketball player is a bunch. So I think Rollins is also an option. And we'll see. Brody Tagaloa is technically a tight end now.
I saw that.
And we'll see with Chase Androff. We'll find out what they can do with him. Chase actually has some athletic ability. I don't think he's going to play this year, but whether he plays tackle or whether he plays tight end, I guess we'll find out over the course of a year or two.
You have any read on when Fidoni might be available?
Well, I think he is the kind of person who basically wants to be available as soon as possible. And I think they slow played it last year. slow play is the wrong phrase. They were smart and cautious last year because they basically didn't want to burn his 4 games. And I'm not a big fan of that. Like that 4-game thing, I think you just play the kids, and after 4 years, see where you're at. But there's no reason to do any of that this year.
Mhm.
So they don't have to be like conserve the red shirt or anything like that. He can just play as many games as he can. And so I think you're going to see him, you're going to see, I think, his natural motivation to push things will probably reveal themselves a little more than last year. Now, last year they had Vokalek and Allen, and so they didn't have to use Fedoni as much, but they were judicious with Borkircher too, where they wanted to save his 4-game red shirt, and that's fine. But now I think you're going to see a kind of a full speed ahead with Fedoni, and we'll see how quickly he can come back. He is sort of a notoriously quick rehabber, but it would be very hard to see him be ready to go at the beginning of the season, but you just never know.
Yeah, he's kind of freaky in that regard. Came back a little too soon last year, obviously, but man.
That's right.
Sam, let me ask you something. I asked this to Sip last week. Do you think, and maybe it's a media thing, maybe it's a fan base thing, maybe we can help control it, but is there a way to stay away from the blame credit game when you look at Nebraska's offense in 2022?
Like who will get credit for their success or that kind of thing?
Or blame if it's not the way we want it to look. Is that avoidable or is it inevitable?
I think I think it is avoidable if they're really successful. I think you will see a lot of the love spread around. Because I do think that they intend to try to run an offense, a full-on offense, and make those things work. And so all the pieces are working together. I don't think it's going to be here Casey Thompson or here Chuba Purdy. You just go win the game. I don't think it's going to be like that. I don't think either one of those guys is John Elway, so we don't have to do that. If it struggles, inevitably that's going to fall back on the head coach and probably the quarterback. That's just kind of how it goes, So it'll fall back on them. Whipple, I think everybody kind of knows what he's going to do. Last night on the radio, I think he said they have 87 passing concepts.
Yeah.
So they hired him with their eyes wide open. They knew what he is and who he is coming in. It won't be quite like Diaco. Whipple's not quite like that, and so Whipple's not trying to come in and try to run the whole program. I think he's tried to come in and do the best possible job of blending, lots of different things. So inevitably, yeah, I think that if they struggle offensively a lot, then it'll just be like, well, there's one constant here that's been true since Frost got there, and that's Frost. So I think people will do that. We can certainly try to be more, balanced about that. And we have to be thoughtful about the quarterback position, because what I'll say again is Adrian took a lot of heat over the last 4 years for some of the things that he was asked to do. And then I think he was asked to do so much that he ended up, making mistakes and committing turnovers that cost him games, but it wasn't necessarily his fault. When you ask a quarterback to do as much as he does, you kind of run the risk of, making mistakes because you're trying to do everything all at once.
Sam McCune of the World Herald joining us. Stick with quarterbacks, because listening to Whipple last night and his discussion, and then he went through every quarterback that it is in his room, every scholarship quarterback. How do you think, and he's new here, but in comparison to, we could go back a decade, how do you think Nebraska feels about the quality of depth in their quarterback room right now?
I think there's a good feeling in the sense that the number 2/3 guy started a game last year and played well for 3 quarters. Doesn't really fit exactly the offense they're in, but he is a good kid and, cares, is conscientious, and a lot of other things that Logan is. I think that makes you feel really good. I think, you know, if you listen to Mark Whipple last night, he basically said he thinks Trevor Purdy's better than Brock, or at least he has more potential, which is a notable comment for him to make. That's an interesting comment for him to make. He said he's a better athlete and has a better arm. And he was relating it to a conversation he had, I think, with the Purdy's high school coach. And then, you know, Casey Thompson, I think, is an experienced player who the one thing I think that's very clear with him is he's very organized and very focused and very motivated. And he will not cheat you in the film room. So, like, he's going to do everything he can to be ready to play the football game. I think there's some things that have to happen around him for him to play as well as he can. And we've overlooked a few of those things a little bit. But, you know, I think you feel really good about those three players. And then the other two guys are tools. This is another way the best way to put it is, you know, those other two guys don't have a lot of experience, but they've got some ability. And you know, maybe Whipple can turn one of those guys into a special player, because if you said he can run and he's 6'5" and he's got a strong arm, well, those are all good things. Now can you frame that in? So I think they feel pretty good about the quarterbacks they have there. Again, with Thompson, and I assume he's going to kind of be the guy, although we'll see with Chuba. With Thompson, you've got to do the other things around it. And the thing that we've tended to overlook, including me, is Texas had an incredibly good running back last year. And they could run the ball. Now the Big 12 isn't great at stopping the run, but you know, does Nebraska have a running back 75 or 85% as good as Robinson? I don't know. That's a big question. You watch Thompson's tape, and there's a lot of throwing the ball to Robinson, and then he goes and gains 35 yards. He's a great player, and I don't know if Nebraska has one of those kind of backs or not. We're going to find out.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson is probably the best running back in the country.
Yeah. It's a big deal. And Thompson had the benefit of him, and he had the benefit of incredible receiving corps. Like, Marcus Washington was like the number 3 receiver or 4 receiver on that team. So Casey had a lot of material around him. If you're good around him, I think he can be really good. If you're going to ask him to be Adrian Martinez, I think the results may be worse than it was with Adrian, because Thompson's not that kind of runner, and he's not going to be as durable as Adrian was. Adrian played through things that most people don't play through. And he probably shouldn't have played through. But you know, Adrian's an incredible athlete, and I don't think Thompson's quite as good of an athlete as Adrian.
Hey, so Sam, we were just kind of parsing through the list, and Yant and Gabe Ervin have come up already. I assume that Ramir and Grant have to be somewhere on the horizon. If 4 running backs are in the top 50, where does that put the prevalence of either how you think about the offense or how many offensive linemen will be critical?
Right. So that's a great way of looking at it. Inevitably, backs show up more in the last several. If we were doing a camp countdown in 2014, there would be 2 backs, and Amir Abdul would be number 1, the number 1 player on the list.
Yeah.
They just haven't had a lead back, and it may be that at the end of this year, we all look back and go, you know what? It was Anthony Grant, or it was this guy, or it was this guy. And that may happen, and we may be able to say we can kind of wipe some of these off the board. I think that the prevalence of backs in the countdown is indicative of uncertainty as to which one is going to emerge as the lead back.
Gotcha.
Because you just don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I think all 4 of them could play. You know, and the very first game last year, Irvin got the start. Stepp scored a touchdown. Ramir came in late. And I can't remember if Sevion played or not, but you remember in the week leading up to it, Ryan Held was talking about Sevion
Yeah,
Moore.
he was.
So there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different pieces and parts there, and that's part of it. And then the offensive lineman, Kevin Williams, so the way we kind of slate it is your 22 starters are somewhere in the top 30-ish. I'm not counting the kicker and the punter. At times, there'll be a backup that is higher than a starter, but you'll notice that that's where there's an offensive lineman where we don't know the defined, who's going to start exactly. Or the nickel spot. So I think we've got coming up. Isaac Giffords the highest of those, but I think him and Kolarvik may be below. They are below Tanner, who may or may not start. You just, I've heard this like, well, they're going to run a 4-3, and I'm like, yeah, they still have 11 players on the field, right? So, you mean you're going to put Caleb Tanner out on a slot receiver? That's not usually how defenses work today with spread defenses, spread offenses. I think it's unlikely that Tanner's going to do that. Now, that when Banker was here, they did run a 4-3, a true 4-3, and Dedrick Young was the drop guy, and they would drop into a zone and get picked apart. I don't know if they're going to do that. My sense is that they're 11. Tanner is one of their best 11 players, but Tanner or Mathis may not be on the field all the time, and they will have against certain teams like Oklahoma, Kolarvik or Gifford will be on the field all the time. So that's kind of how that all messed out. Today's Kevin Williams, and I think we've got him slated as in the rotation. He could win a starting job, but he is not guaranteed to win one.
Hey,
I think the only guys that you can say are guaranteed are Teddy, and I think Hicks is going to play somewhere. I don't know exactly where, and Turner.
3 or 4 points a game would have been huge last year. We've heard that story a ton. Could you lay your head down at night and sleep peacefully if you wanted to put 2 specialists at 1 and 2 of your list?
The top 2 specialists on the team?
Yeah. Place kicking, punting.
The punter goes first, and then the kick. Yep.
I mean, you'd be okay with trying to make a case for both being top 5, right?
On the team? No, not on. No. It's too hard to do that because it's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like a relief pitcher, like a middle reliever. And don't get me wrong, there are middle relievers that were enormously important in helping teams win World Series, but the special teams guys tend to be lower. Brian Buschini is the highest on our list of the specialists. We're generally going to put the punter higher than the kicker unless you have the best kicker in the country. Don't get me wrong. Some of the missed kicks last year were awful, but the punting issues are more glaring. And you can change it. You can control a game more with a punter. There's things you can do with the punting game that.
Just imagine how drastically different play calling is, though, if you can get 3.
Well, yeah, I think their idea is they want, and Timmy, I talked to Timmy in the spring, the philosophy has changed to some degree in the sense that they want you to make every kick inside of 40, and then outside of that, people call it different things outside the 40, but if you don't have Justin Tucker, you might as well go for it. Like it's not unless it's 4th and 17 and you're at the 34 and you got a guy that can make a 51-yarder, if it's 4th and 6 at the 34, might be worth it to go for it, that kind of thing. So you're seeing more and more of that. It's when you get inside the 40, they hope Timmy can make 80 to 85% of his field goals inside the 40. And they've had guys that done that. Drew Brown did it. Obviously, Culp did it 1 year. Bear Pickering did it 1 year, but they have been consistent there. It does change the play calling. But I don't know.
Yeah.
The punting piece is really important, especially in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is the best collection of punters in the country. So trying to out-punt those guys is actually really hard to do. And Nebraska has lost games, in my opinion, because they have been just badly out-punted. Iowa, incredible.
Oh, but he's the real deal. He's All-America caliber, too, though.
He is, yeah. So the challenge is the other 3 All-Americans are in the league, So I think Taylor may not have been all Big Ten, because the best punter, in my opinion, was at Rutgers, and then the second best punter was at Illinois, and then the third best punter in the country was at Penn State. I think he went higher than any of them. And then the guy at Michigan's unbelievable too, and people remember how Iowa's punter pinned Nebraska consistently. both this 2021 game, and then if people can remember back to 2019 when Nebraska spent the entire fourth quarter inside their own 10 because Iowa can punt, and Nebraska's got to get much better, much better.
Nebraska, just to have them throw the ball in the end zone, in the air, in the red zone will be different. No, I'm dead. I'm dead serious. Just throwing it in the end zone.
Yeah, they've had a really hard time doing that, and there's a lot of conversations to be had. I'm not a coach or anything, but I love talking about red zone theory, and we'll see what Whipple does. He had the benefit again of a really good quarterback, a really good team, or really good players around the quarterback, and then he also had a pliant ACC, where you're playing Duke, and some teams that really don't play very good defense. Trying to do that in the Big Ten is like a 400 level course, and so everybody has a hard time, with the exception of Ohio State. And so it's going to be challenging for Whipple, and he'll have to think about it. He'll have to scheme it well. And again, I think if you give Casey Thompson all the things that you need to give a guy, he can get it done at a level that's honestly higher than a Martinez. But he's got to have some of those parts, and they got to be good. And I think you give Casey Thompson those things, he can think his way through the game like a coach. And that's probably what they need at that spot.
Yeah, red zone's about accuracy, in my opinion.
It is.
And
guts, right? You have to have the guts to throw it.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to
throw it up.
I was gonna say anticipation, accuracy. I was gonna say anticipation, accuracy, but I'll take guts because anticipation means that you trust or have courage.
I.e. Minnesota, Austin
That's
Allen.
where that's going.
Yep. Sam is always
who never lacked guts was Tommy Armstrong.
No.
He never lacked guts. Now he threw interceptions, but that guy would throw the ball in the red zone. He would throw it into the end zone. He wasn't afraid to do it. He did throw interceptions. But the thing I appreciate more about Tommy now than I did, is he was not reticent. And he was not afraid to make mistakes. But he also made plays.
Yeah.
And they need somebody who's got some guts to throw it into the end zone and not try to throw it, not try to avoid an interception just to avoid it. It's the difference between Alex Smith, who is a great quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes, who's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Patrick Mahomes throws touchdowns. Alex Smith threw you down to the 5-yard line, and then you better hope you run it in.
Sam, appreciate it. Have a great week.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Sam.
I think another part of this discussion in the marriage of Whipple and Joseph, your wide receivers are going to run better routes.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to cut off an 8-yard route at 7.5. They're going to run routes, or they're not going to play. And, that's all about timing. And that'll be another aspect that I think will be pretty clear right away of a difference from last year and how wide receivers are coached, which also benefits the quarterback. Yeah. Remember that touchdown pass in the red zone in the corner of the end zone to Austin Allen when Nebraska was trying to rally in Minneapolis?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that a nice little concept?
Throw it in the end zone.
All right. Halftime, Sharp and Betting in the morning. We have somebody that is absolutely outraged at Nebraska staying in the Big Ten. We're going to read you a letter when we come back.
Ice cream. Yeah, it sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, the weather, it is, it fits. Nice warm weather. Maybe you're on a walk. Maybe you want to celebrate. Maybe you just, I don't know, you feel like a little ice cream. You got a craving. How about stopping at Ted and Wally's? 2 great locations downtown and in Benson. Quality products, 20% butterfat, ultra premium ice cream with over 3,000 flavors. Maybe you're thinking, "Oh, that's a little heavy. I don't know, DB." Well, they've got keto, they've got vegan, they've got gluten-free. You can do the sorbet thing. If you want options, Ted and Wally's has got you covered. Celebrating over 35 years of summer fun, family parties. Maybe it's a family outing. Maybe you just want a good old-fashioned afternoon treat. With over 3,000 flavors to choose from, they're bound to get it right. It's just what they do. Again, 2 great locations, Benson and downtown. Visit Ted and Wally's.
Sharp and Benning in the morning on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Here are Gary Sharp and Damon Benning.
Vinny Pasquantino swings and drives one into deep right field and gone into the Royals bullpen.
And Vinny hits his second big league home run. Both have come against Michael Pineda.
It's halftime. Sharp betting in the morning. 1620 The Zone. 1620thezone.com. Brought to you by Harsh Cigars, Pipes, and Lounge. You want to enjoy a nice cocktail and maybe relax a little bit. Cigar, a pipe. Just shoot the breeze. Get away for a while. Harsh Cigars, Pipes, and Lounge is the place to be. Great location off the North 48th Street exit. Located right next to Cubby's off of Mormon Bridge Road.
Hey, did you know it's also National Cow Appreciation Day? You could thank the cow for its milk or its meat.
Yeah.
Thank you, cow.
Both.
I'd definitely go meat over milk. I'm not a big milk person. So thank you, cow, for providing meat. And then for people like Chance, providing milk. So appreciate your cow today. You happen to have a favorite cow?
It's a tough call, but I'll take the beef over the milk, even though I love both.
My man. Welcome back in. Sharp Betting in the Morning. Coming up the top of the next hour, Mark Schipper joins us from Fifth Down College Football. Ellie French from KTV will be in with us today as well. College basketball season, John Rothstein reminded me it's 118 days away today. Creighton announced yesterday, they confirmed that they will be going to Las Vegas to play BYU and Arizona State December 10th and 12th. There will be a ton of blue in Vegas then. If you saved your money, you could have a nice little non-con trip around the country if you're a Creighton fan, because you might go to Maui around Thanksgiving. You might go down to Austin to see Texas and Creighton play in the brand new Texas Arena. And then you're going to go to Vegas, and you can just go crazy in Vegas because Creighton's going to be out there for a couple of days.
Go crazy.
Are you ready for a Joe Lunardi July 12th bracketology?
What do we got here, Joe?
So this is going to be a fantastic season in college basketball, not just because of the interest with Creighton and the possibilities, but college basketball is going to be great this upcoming year. The Blue Bloods are back. The talent is going to be fantastic. Gonzaga, North Carolina, Kentucky, Houston are his number ones. If you haven't already, do it today, Creighton fan. Reserve room in Des Moines, because that will be the host of a first and second round. Lunardi has Creighton as a 3 seed in Des Moines. He actually has them playing Oral Roberts here.
A lowly 3 seed?
A 3 seed, which would make you one of the top 12 teams in the country. He has him as the automatic qualifier out of the Big East.
Go Jays.
But playing Max Asmus and Oral Roberts. Hope that doesn't happen. I hope Oral Roberts.
I can't believe he's still there.
There's a lot of people that can't believe he's still there.
Gosh.
I thought he would leave after their Sweet 16 run, but he came back because O'Banner left to go to Texas Tech. And then I thought after this year,
you're like, okay, surely now you're bouncing.
Well, he put his name in for the draft and really got no traction. And I think it was the NBA, or coming back to ORU. And so he is back for his 8th year at Oral Roberts. Now, hopefully the league will market that Max Asmus, one of the best players ever to play in the Summit, is sticking around. But I hope they do not get the automatic qualifier berth out of the Summit League.
Let me ask you something about quarterback play real quick, going back to the red zone. This is not taking into account the run game, considering I don't think Nebraska will be running the ball with the quarterback a ton in the red zone. Would you take 8 yards per completion, 63%, 45 touchdowns, 30 interceptions? Or would you take 54%, 7.9 yards of completion, and a 67 to 44 touchdown to interception ratio?
I think I know where you're going. There's part of me that says I'm no doubt going with number 1, but I think in this conversation, I'm leaning towards number 2.
Yeah, number 1 is Adrian Martinez. Number 2 is Tommy Armstrong. Now, the 54% completion.
That's my hesitation.
Right. But he was 67 to 44.
See, 67 touchdown passes. That's a lot for Tommy Armstrong.
It's more. That is a lot. That is a lot. Now you can't go 1.5 picks though, but the touchdown to interception ratio is darn near the exact same. Armstrong's is a smidge better.
And you could jump into the conversation of the interceptions that Tommy threw compared to Adrian's interceptions. Which ones ended up hurting you more? There were a lot of arm punts coming off of the right arm of Tommy Armstrong.
Yeah,
which they weren't as glaring.
People dubbed him, the yellow, with the whole yellow thing, right? I thought that was interesting.
Nebraska's red zone offense, I mean, I'm sure it will not mimic what Joe Moorhead likes to do at Oregon, which he's a wizard, by the way, and the concepts they have in their RPO in the red zone and the players that they have that can execute it. What actually Whipple wants to do when they get in the red zone, because you can drive 80 yards, and if you get 0, I mean, we're looking at Norman last September. That's demoralizing. But if you drive 80 and you're not able to get in the end zone, but you at least got 3, look at just the difference when you come to the sideline.
No, I know. But hey,
yeah, it's you brought this up a while ago, and I am all in on just 3 to 6 points more a game off the foot, or 4 points, a field goal and an extra point that is made. Just the difference in the psyche and the scoreboard.
It totally matters.
And the play calling.
So the play, let's assume the play calling is a given. Like, you understand the dynamics, right? Yeah. You're like, man, 3rd and 7, he's probably thinking I've got 2 to make 7, as opposed to doing something on 3rd down and kicking the field goal, right? So you put that aside. Just imagine coming back to the sidelines after an empty trip versus coming back to the sidelines, getting points on the board. And if you, in some of those games, like you scored first, or you took the lead, like Michigan or something like that, where it's like, you didn't leave it open to interpretation, because then the other team has to play different.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't give up the field position. I'm telling you. That's why I was a little tongue in cheek, but not really. Like, if you wanted to put specialists in the top 5, assuming they do their job, I mean, come on, man. Like,
well, the Big Ten West is a field position division. Look at just the mere fact of being able to punt the football, what it does for you. What it bails out your defense. But if I told you we're 46 days away, I'm telling you, Bleak Road is going to make 80% of his kicks. I mean, Nebraska made 50% last year. How many wins are involved in that? Before you factor in Buschini.
80% of his kicks?
Nebraska last year.
I'd say 2.
So this is...
I'd say 2.
You have to repeat this out loud, because people don't believe you unless you went through it. Nebraska finished tied for 126th out of 130 in field goal percentage last year. They were 50%.
Dude, I know.
50%.
I just asked the question, could you lay your head down at night putting specialists top 2? It sounds ridiculous. But so was the special teams.
Yeah, and some of these countdowns. But if you're looking at, so you have to go with who has the most importance to a successful season?
Then you talk about lowering your stress level and anxiety. Like, let's not over or underestimate headspace.
Yeah, the team was soft as.
No, I'm saying, like, know you're not when you know you can't. Anytime your foot touches the ball, 50% of the time something bad happens. I'm gonna say that again out loud. Every time your foot touches the ball, half the time something bad happens. And it's more than that if I factor in punt returns and punting.
Yeah.
Which is staggering. Just imagine the angst. You can't even free yourself up emotionally. You wonder why they look over their shoulder for the old Charlie Brown thing, something bad to happen.
So the element,
that's atrocious.
The element of this, and when I say soft, I say in the element of when something goes wrong during the course of a football game, soft mentally to go, okay, we're fine, we're going to take care of this, is you could go back and document half those kicks were missed, And you could almost find a familiar pattern that when they missed a kick, it was the corresponding reaction was a downward spiral.
Yeah,
It wasn't like, all right, we're fine. We're gonna get a cut stopper. It was somebody puts the ball in the end zone, or you turn it over.
You want your glass to
stay.
stay half full.
Oh.
Convert some of those red zone trips from touchdowns or from field goal attempts to touchdowns.
Yep.
Okay, just give yourself 3 more points a game. Just score 4 more touchdowns on the season.
Mm-hmm.
4 more touchdowns in the red zone, or be better in special teams. You don't even have to do both.
I agree.
You could give me one or the other, and they'd be +3 in the win column. Now imagine if you clean up both. Just imagine if you clean up both.
Well, if you had to clean up for 4 years, you wouldn't be sitting. You'd probably still be under 500.
Yeah, but
you wouldn't
guess
be
what?
sitting
You're
here at
still
15
trying.
wins. Yes.
Right? That's why you revamped your
Yeah.
staff. That's why you got new personnel. So if you want to be excited about being close, that's how it is. It's not just simply saying, "Hey, man, law of averages, it's got to turn around at some point." Or if you want to be super, negative Nancy, it's, "Well, he hasn't done it in 4 years. What makes you think he's going to do it in the 5th?" If you just start incrementally, you clean those 2 things up. And remember, you have better personnel in one, and you have a different concept in the other.
Mhm.
So the odds that it can change or at least be different are pretty good. Now, whether that's good or not, we don't know. But to assume that it will be the same with so many different pieces and a different philosophy from your head coach in terms of management, I'd be hard pressed to think it would stay the same. Right? Like I have no anecdotal evidence that would lead me to believe that.
We're on the same page here, because now go back with the guy on the headset calling plays. If Timmy Bleakroad establishes trust, I'm not always thinking I got to go for the home run. I mean, okay, I'm gonna go with a big swing, but if I don't get it, I know we're gonna get 3. Okay, so we're getting points. So I don't got to be the one that's got to always get us points. I got to get us down there, and I want points. I want the 6 that leads to a 7. But if we don't, I'm not going to be, oh gosh, what do we do now? If I have faith in that kicker's going to come out and he's not going to burn me and he's going to put it through the uprights, and we at least got 3. Because I can't continue to drive down the ball. I can't continue to drive 80 yards and get nothing.
You know how many times Casey Alvano saved our bacon, or Tristan Alvano? A ton. Changes your play calling when you know you've got a good place kicker.
And even in your case at Westside, when you guys would stall outside of the red zone, it was still a good 45, 47-yard field goal that you had faith that he was going to kick. So you didn't have to get into the red zone and go, oh, boy. Even if you got stalled outside of the red zone, you could say, you know what? I like our chances here to bang home a 40 to 44-yard field goal.
Yeah. Good guy to ask about play calling and how it changes your mind. Or ask Coach Martin or Coach O'Neill, when for 2 years we knew we didn't have a place kicker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You take a lot of chances. I noticed that, like, when you get in the 10-yard line, you take some big chances. You couldn't even kick a 17-yard field goal.
Yeah. You want to go back to prep and overtime, or when they beat us in overtime? Or Grand Island at their place at the end of the half. It changes you. And the biggest thing, though, and you can't see it, so it's hard to talk about. It's more a feel. It's a peace of mind. It takes the edge off and the anxiety of, because in the back of your mind, man, and you got to be really good at this and compartmentalizing. Don't think that coaches don't understand what they're dealing with who they have to call upon. Oh man, I gotta go to this guy. All right, how can I think 5 plays ahead of time? Because this ain't gonna work kicking the ball. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
the kicking is the most unpredictable part of the sport.
If you know you're netting 38 yards a punt, like, you think that doesn't change when you're in the hole, your psyche. It's hard to play like that.
It'll be interesting to see how quickly these guys establish trust of a defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator and a head coach on how you maneuver around what they're able to do and what they're able to give you. Do you take more chances?
You can easily see why there would be optimism.
Well, you went out and fixed those 2 things, and you also got a guy now that's running special teams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, we We had an interesting 2 weeks ago when UCLA and USC came into the Big Ten. But we have another letter to the editor in a local newspaper that thinks this is the disastrous day for Nebraska football. We will read this letter when we come back because he makes some interesting points. And he has solution for Nebraska football moving forward. I'm wondering if other people will share his sentiment. All right, we're 30 minutes away from a new guest on the show. Mark Schipper will stop by to talk college football.
Wowzer. It's pretty good poise, too, on your part.
To talk college football, among other things, on and off the field. And then Ellie French from KETV. That's all still to come. Sharp and Betting in the morning on 1620 The Zone. Hey, looking for that perfect car, truck, or SUV? Go to Woodhouse Buick GMC. Shop there first. Purchase with confidence at 119th and I. They will take care of you today, whether it be new or new to you. They've got plenty of inventory that you can peruse in their large indoor controlled showroom. And it's not like all the inventory is piled on top of you and you feel like you're, no, you got plenty of room to walk around and peruse, and the salespeople will take care of you. Top-notch customer service. They'll make it right for you. You want to join the Woodhouse family? You can today. You can also do it online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com, where all of the inventory that you see in person, you can see online, even the in-transit. Plus, you can interact with the knowledgeable sales staff. You can purchase a vehicle, value your trade, credit application, all of that stuff. Schedule a test drive if you'd like to do it that way. They make it easy on you. They streamline the process in person, 119th and I, or online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade. So watching a little summer league basketball last night, Damon. Chet Holmgren had another big night. Jabari Smith scored 19 points, didn't take a dribble. That'd be interesting what he's going to do in Houston. I was watching summer league and thinking, because, when you're watching summer league basketball, your mind drifts to a bunch of different possibilities. What would be the point differential if you had a summer league NBA team against the best college basketball team? How much would the summer league team win by?
Oh,
Because even the worst summer league team, those are pros. I mean, their collection of talent is pretty good.
I don't know, 10, 15.
Yeah, it seems about right.
Yeah, I watched some bad summer league basketball yesterday. The Pels game was atrocious. They didn't make a three until like halfway through the third quarter. They missed the first 16.
Ooh. Ouch.
A couple days ago, two combined teams went like 4 of 60 from New York.
Ouch.
Something like that.
Just keep playing Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, he's kind of been up and down. He gets back down quite a bit. Like folks go at him, but he's still going to be a tough guard.
I think like bigger players, not same height, but bigger, thicker players. His stamina he's going to have to work on, but it's going to be a couple of years before he's anywhere near the finished product. He's going to run into this that a lot of shot blockers do. They get called for fouls that are not fouls.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a
lot
problem.
of it is because they do things that you don't expect them to do. You assume that they're going to foul. I worry, and I can't remember who we had it on, who our guest was nationally, but he said too, I disagree completely. Which is fine, right? I worry about Jabari Smith's athleticism. I said it then, I say it now. He can't go get his own shot.
Nope.
Now, will that matter? I don't know, but his lateral quickness is just okay.
Yeah, they're going to have to move him off screens. I mean, can he stretch? Can he stretch the defense at all?
And he said out loud, he's like, I completely disagree. I love Jabari. And I was like, that's fine, but he can't move.
Yeah, he's not as good as the guy that has legs that are built like a sand wedge in Chet Holmgren.
Boy, that is something else. 60-degree lob. Hey, so would you have shut Banchero down?
No.
Me neither. It's awful early.
Yeah, he's still played 2 games. Like last night, I really wanted to
They're
watch.
we're good.
I wanted to watch Oklahoma City and Orlando play last night.
Why is Giddey playing summer league except to work maybe to work on his offense?
So I got a question about this. So I don't like, you shouldn't run zone
because he can't shoot.
You shouldn't have replay in summer league, and you probably shouldn't have Giddey, Paul Reed, and Wiseman playing summer league. I mean, a little bit older guys.
Wiseman never plays though.
Well, but still, he's still been on an NBA roster during the regular season.
That dude's missed like 50 years.
Well, why is Paul Reed playing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he's played a little bit. I mean, Giddey
if
was a starter.
Giddey,
for
I would
City.
just be shooting jump shots.
Well, and he messes around.
Dude, he is so smooth though.
Again, they'll be an NBA League Pass fun team to watch.
No, you know who that's going to be? Especially if they figure out how to
Pat
use
Beverly in Utah?
No, Pat Beverly's former team, Minnesota.
Well, that marriage of Cat and Gobert will be quite intriguing.
Well, Cat doesn't have to do, or Gobert doesn't have to shoot. He ain't going to take shots from Cat, and he makes Cat's jobs easier because Cat won't defend.
But the guy I want to watch every night is Ant Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it.
The NBA wins, though. It's all about timing. It's all about the part of the year. Summer League becomes a big deal. There's a lot of fodder that comes out of it because nothing else is going on. I know when the stars go and they sit courtside and people talk about it, and ESPN, they're gonna air all of the games. This is a letter, by the way, so people can get, everybody's got their opinion on what happened a couple weeks ago between UCLA and USC joining the Big Ten, if it's good or not for Nebraska, and if Nebraska should have ever left the Big 12. This is a letter today, if you're picking up your favorite Lincoln Journal-Star. I'm reading this because I think he has emailed you and I before. I don't know that he's ever called. Don from Michigan. I think Don has emailed us before. So this is his letter in the paper today. He makes some interesting points. Regarding the Big Ten grows to 16, Chancellor Ronnie Green and Athletic Director Trev Alberts are certainly right that this is a historic day for the Big Ten Conference. But it is a disastrous day for Nebraska football. As a Nebraska native and longtime Husker fan, I think joining the Big Ten has been to the detriment of the treasured tradition and loyalty of Nebraska fans. It has proved beyond any doubt that the money chase only serves to see who can reach the bottom first. Green and Alberts, if they really care about Nebraska, should start a movement to leave the Big Ten, form a smaller conference, and take another major Big Ten team with them, say Iowa or Wisconsin. Those sellout Memorial Stadium games and Nebraska loyalty will, in a few years, belong on the shelf of interesting museum relics as Green and Alberts sit in their palatial offices, counting all those dollar bills, wondering why there are so many empty seats in the stadium. That is from Don.
I don't know how much longer Green will be sitting anywhere, but having said that, come on. First of all, Iowa and Wisconsin aren't chomping at the bit to help anybody out. That's certainly not Nebraska.
And nobody's leaving the Big Ten.
And nobody's leaving the Big Ten and $60 million paydays.
Thanks, Don. Thought I'd just read that to be fair, a little balanced.
Well, we don't have to do that anymore.
But he's very passionate.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just, the other side, Don in Michigan would like Nebraska to break away and form a smaller conference and invite Iowa and Wisconsin.
Who are they scheduling?
I've given enough to this.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Thank you for playing along. Yes.
Oh.
No one. You don't think you get these questions at Rutgers? Hey, you know what? You really got a competitive disadvantage playing in the East. Do you think you ought to go? And they're going, no. Have you seen the money that is coming in to keep us alive? Nobody's leaving the Big Ten.
Yeah, well,
nobody's leaving the SEC.
Why would you?
Oh, now, heck no. You are the most stable conferences out there. I mean, there's questions about the ACC. There's less questions about the Big 12, and of course about the Pac-12. Yeah, you are so happy to be in the Big 10 right now because you have stability. You're a brand. Your conference is a brand that is, people want.
And they make good bread.
Yeah, they do. Through all of this, I wonder if this will start. I wonder if we're going to see about a 3-week stretch of media days where everybody just takes out, as you tweeted out a video earlier about a piñata, if everybody takes out the stick and whacks the NCAA over the next 3 weeks, just goes at them.
Why, though? The NCAA has already clapped back.
Well,
and they gave us all these rules that we don't know what to do with now.
But they have this dwindling influence, and now all these conferences, especially the ones that are moving chairs, are like, yeah, no shot. Who are you? And we're going to go at you.
No.
I mean, remember when Tennessee was being investigated for recruiting under Jeremy Pruitt?
Yeah, that's a long time
What happened to that?
Allegedly cost him his job. Well, that not winning.
What happened to Kansas basketball? What's the NCAA doing?
Yeah, we're like, yeah, we're good.
But seriously, Tennessee was like Jeremy Pruitt, you're out. Josh Heupel, you're in. They've got stories of assistant coaches with cash in McDonald's bags. Where'd that ever go? That appeared to be a major violation. Did the NCAA fall asleep?
Oh.
They only care about basketball and stuff in the spring.
Yeah, it might be like our guy Bob said. I don't know what's in season.
I know, seriously. If you're like in the SEC, aren't you like, hey, you walk into Billy Napier's office
what
today?
What are you going to say? Hey, remember us? No, you don't want to be reminded.
Hey, remember when Tennessee was going to be in trouble?
It finally cost the guy at LSU his job, or I guess he just didn't win enough games down the stretch. What's old Wade doing?
The dwindling influence. Well, yeah, there you go. It's the dwindling influence. So the NCAA will be on the whack board probably over the next couple
of weeks. Who's taking that job? And what's it going to look like? Maybe they should just, because he's done at the end of 2023, right?
Yes.
Hopefully by then expansion will be.
Actually, Damon, some will say that Mark Emmert has been done for a while.
Well, I don't like to
Hello?
I don't like to kick folks while
Hello,
they're
you in
down.
there? Hello?
That's just me.
Here's what I would do as the president of the NCAA. And you're not going to have influence over college football. One, you got to find a way to keep March Madness together. And this ridiculous idea that one bid leagues will not be involved in March Madness, you would kill, for example, the Summit League.
Mm.
So you've got to preserve March Madness where everybody gets to play together and it looks the same. Here's one of the first things I would do. I would just make sure, because I'm looking at the calendar, the second Tuesday of July, EA Sports fans, you know what usually this day is in July? It's when the college football game would come out. Today we would be talking about playing college NCAA football 23. But we haven't for almost a decade. The last game that came out, Denard Robinson was on the cover.
Allegedly, there's a new download that you can do now.
Hopefully this is the last year that we go without having a game. So next year, next year we'll get the game back.
Yeah, apparently it's pretty legit. At least that's what the kids tell me.
But as the guy at the NCAA that wants people on my side, I would probably make sure that game was in the hands of everybody, and we were not going to lose a decade of kids playing NCAA football 14 or 23, because I still contend that college football in pro markets, or where college football you just can't go, you don't have a local team, that built attention because you were playing that game, so you knew the players.
I could see that. I could see where
But to answer your question, let me turn this question back to you about this, because I think this is a good question. The person that is the next president of the NCAA, where are they coming from? What is their background?
Probably law. Or maybe corporate, like, what if it was like from the gaming industry? That seems to be where a lot of studs come from.
Look at the commissioners that the Pac-12 and the Big 12 have hired, kind of out of the box.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand rules and regulations.
Probably have to have a handle on the entertainment part of it.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe the gaming industry. Maybe they need our old guy Samir. Although, why would he leave New Orleans? But look what the Raiders did.
Yeah. It definitely has to be an out of the box person. It can't be an academic person.
Academia. Would you stop?
No, like the Pac-12 and the Big 12 went out of the box. Most people have no idea who the new Big 12 commissioner is, and he'll speak tomorrow.
Well, they won't say his name, right? They'll be like Klavikov.
Yormark.
They're like, no, that's the other conference. They're not all the way merged yet. He's still on the left coast. This is the Big 12. Watch.
And that guy just got here.
Yeah. What? 6 months ago?
Yeah. So
that's what they'll do. They'll refer to him. Although, if they do merge, he would not be a bad commissioner, because I think he's been pretty good for the Pac-12. I kind of like him.
So
maybe you just make him the king of the merger. Could you do that?
You got to. The commissioner of the Big 12 is a gentleman by the name of Brett Yormark.
Yeah,
he will speak tomorrow. He has been on the job less than a month, so tomorrow he will have to talk about.
I thought that was the one Stu was supposed to get.
He will talk about realignment, what they're doing, and he also will probably have to have a plan for what next year looks like when you have BYU, Central Florida, Cincinnati, Houston, Texas, and Oklahoma in your conference. It could be him.
And you top to bottom, they're better than a lot of other people.
Yeah, they're in a year. They are the comeback conference of the year.
And we left them for dead.
That was pretty easy to do. But here's a guy that came from Rock Nation. I mean, he was the CEO of Rock Nation Unified.
Yeah, I know. You better familiarize our listening audience with what Rock Nation is. That's ROC for those of you playing at home. That's Hove.
Mm-hmm.
That's
his company.
Yeah, that
represents.
That's Jay-Z.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
So that's an interesting hire.
They do it all. They do it all. They call themselves luxury media.
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Do you refer to Jay-Z always as Hove or?
No, I usually Jay-Z.
Okay.
I used for like probably what am I 48? Probably 20 years of my life it was Jigga,
Okay.
and then I went with Hove for a while, and I just call him Jay-Z. I don't know what he would prefer. He's got a lot of aliases, or not aliases. What do you call them? Would they be nicknames?
A little bit.
Yeah.
He's had a great influence on my life.
Pardon?
He's had a great influence on my life.
Sean Carter?
I went and bought Timberlands after I saw him wearing them.
Wow.
Man, I thought they were cool.
Hey man, Sharpie, who's your inspiration? Sean Carter? Who?
Hey,
Yeah, man, I was wearing these
hey.
Tim Dogs when I was like 19, and it changed my life.
Dude, he was rocking them, and I'm like, those are really cool.
Yeah, I could not see you wearing those in the manner
Um,
in which folks.
Well, I
wear them.
probably don't wear them the right way.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna agree with that.
Yeah, what I'm getting is that the bottom of your jeans
Yeah.
shouldn't go all the way down. They should maybe be tucked inside so people can see the boots.
Team swag.
Yeah. Coming up here in the next hour, we will chat with Mark Schipper, Fifth Down College Football, and Ellie French will stop by. Again, big weekend coming up down at Sokol. The TBT regional is in town, and Omaha Blue Crew. They got the
Other
Creighton team
names for
locally.
Jay-Z.
Okay.
The Carter administration, Jigga, Hova, El Presidente, and Hove. I've used everything but the Carter administration and El Presidente.
Not a bad collection of names to have.
Nah, he's still the man too. Just go ahead and ask him that worth when it comes to Rock Nation.
He's got 99 problems. And Rock Nation ain't one of them.
I'll be enamored to see where the next commish comes from for the chairman.
Like, I wonder if you had to do it over again. Like, let's say Delaney is getting ready to retire, where the Big Ten would go.
AC said it may be a mortician because that organization is dead.
Hello, you in there?
Dead.
Hello, Mark.
Dead.
Mark. Hello.
That's tough.
Has he ever come to the College World Series, by the way?
I don't remember any sightings.
Thing is put on by the NCAA.
Do you remember any sightings?
No. Wouldn't Mark Emmert come to the College World Series? They do make some pretty good money off of it. It's a big event. Hello, you in there?
That would be some salary for a swan song. When you kind of haven't done much of, at least the perception is anything.
Yeah. Some places they take you to jail. It's called stealing.
I don't know. I would feel more comfortable critiquing it if I knew what the day-to-days were.
Well, we'll see what the day-to-day is moving forward. Like if you have any influence whatsoever. Maybe it's just take care of basketball. You'll be fine.
I told you their last parting gift was this anarchy.
Well, some might say that once we lost the ability to play NCAA football, the whole country went to hell.
No, I thought that was going from Coke to Pepsi.
I don't know, man. I mean, think about it. A coincidence.
That wasn't it?
When we were playing the NCAA football game on the second Tuesday of July every year, wasn't life better? We enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't play it anymore, and look what happened.
That's all we would talk about at football practice.
No, it dominated the conversation.
Oh, we were so mad.
So I told a story. Nebraska football players would go to the Best Buy when it was on 48th, and they would stand in line with normal people at midnight when Best Buy opened up, so you could come in and get the game. And then you would go home and you would play it till like 6 or 7 in the morning. It was that popular. And I'm glad that we fixed some loopholes and some legalese, and we could have it back next year. All right. Sharp Betting in the morning at 1620 The Zone.
The source, the go-to, the experts. Looking for somebody that, you know what, you want to take care of that body. You're looking for some alternatives. How about the fine folks at 42 degrees? A lot of folks try to imitate, even duplicate, but you cannot replicate. That's a lot of eights. What they're doing at 42 degrees. Super clean, really friendly. But it's the knowledge. The knowledge is power. Knowledge is the key. The training on all of the products that the staff receives is incredible, which is pretty much why I consider them the source. I had a ton of questions. I wasn't a guy that loved going to the doctors and taking a bunch of different this and that I wasn't pretty sure about. And I'm always interested in side effects and what happens internally. And I'm like, oh, absorption rate, this, that, and the other. Gosh, the knowledge at 42 degrees, well, that was the source. And it has taken really good care of my body, from vegan to gluten-free, different strength levels, even stuff for your pets. There's a lot going on, but nothing that the fine folks at 42 degrees can't handle. Ton of great locations right by your mom's house. It's 42 degrees.
I like me some Ryan Lefevre. Seems to be doing more radio, or maybe just every time I'm in the car and listening to Denny talk about the Clevelands, he's got Ryan next to him.
We the best music. Right now, Denny's talking about a 4-game win streak or whatever the Royals are on.
You know what? They lost 3 of 4 at Houston, but they could have won 3 of 4.
Yeah,
Break up the Royals. I mean,
is it
they're
just
only
3 in a
18
row?
games under 500.
It's 3
won
in a row.
Sunday, and they
Yeah.
swept the doubleheader against Detroit yesterday.
Go ahead then, Royals. You made a good trade. Connor Happer's happy.
Hey, go Royals until Benintendi, Taylor, Merrifield are all gone.
Taylor. They had a heck of a debate during the Rays Red Sox game over whether Story is the heir apparent or they move Bogarts. Oh man, I thought they were going to choke each other.
Well, they got to pay some money to Devers and Bogarts in Boston.
Yeah, I think Story may be the guy, and Bogarts ends up in LA if Trey Turner leaves.
Still don't know how they traded Mookie Betts.
Well,
how did they trade Mookie Betts?
Wait till this offseason.
Next hour, last hour on a Tuesday edition of Sharp and Betting in the Morning coming up next.
Sharp and Benning in the morning on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Here are Gary Sharp and Damon Benning.
There's going to be some very tough decisions because you're going to keep out a lot of teams that want to be a part of this future, and they're not going to be invited. So it's going to be more of the haves versus the have-nots in big-time college athletics.
Name the year that quote was mentioned. Welcome back in last hour, Sharp and Betting in the morning. Let's welcome in, as we let all of you know about his fine work. Talk some college football. Mark Schipper from FitDownCFB.com joins us now. Mark, thanks for your time. Welcome to Sharp and Betting in the morning in Omaha.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it. How are you doing today?
We're good. You come highly recommended, so we're pretty excited.
I love it. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Hey, you like to tour the country and go to some of the best games in college football. Last year, you went to Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Norman. Have you set your 2022 schedule yet?
I haven't set the schedule yet. I'm working on a college football book. So what I think I'm going to do is make up some of the games I couldn't fit in last year, visit some of the stadiums I couldn't get to. I'm still working on it now, so it's not set, but I was indeed in Norman for the Nebraska Sooners game last year, which was a great time.
Mark, could you foresee a conference or conferences perhaps putting Notre Dame on a clock to make a decision?
Yeah, interesting question. It would depend what happens around them, but I think the thing mitigating that is Notre Dame is the king on the chessboard. So I think Notre Dame's decision is going to cause some dominoes to fall after they decide what they're going to do. So I would say putting Notre Dame on a clock would be a bold move because I'm not sure the Irish have to move yet. But conditions are changing so fast, there could become a moment where Notre Dame is going to have to make a choice, and someone like the Big Ten says, "Listen, you're either in or you're out. We got options ourselves."
Okay, so here's the deal: which would be more of the moving factor if you had to put them in order, just to keep us from saying both? Would it be the windfall discrepancy in payouts from, let's say, a conference affiliation as Notre Dame as an independent or part of the ACC, where you're $50 million short than, let's say, the Big Ten? Or is it the fact that they could say with the playoff expansion, hey, you still need to be part of a conference in order to qualify, so look at it this way?
Yeah, I think of those two, if the sport continues this direction, the playoff is going to become everything. I think we're seeing the bowl games as they exist now die out. I think television has bought the postseason now. They've had the regular season for a while, so I think we're going to see an expansion of the playoff. And I think that could be the move that forces Notre Dame, which is to say, you can make pretty good money with your independent schedule, and you may be all right from that standpoint, but we're not going to give you great opportunities to make this playoff as we slug through our expanded leagues every year and built this new postseason. Your independence is kind of, now it's become a liability, a relic of the true past, and you need to get in a league. So of the two, I think the second is probably the stronger leverage.
Who gets the playoff when it expands down the road? ESPN, or do they share it?
Yeah, you know what? It is such a coveted property. I think it probably, this all depends on a lot, but just forecasting, I would say it's probably shared. I think and if it's not shared, I think the contracts will be shorter. I think it's too big, it's too important, it's worth too much to just give one league for 15 seasons or 12, or to give one network for 15, seasons or 12 seasons, whatever it might be. So it may be kind of like, I hate to bring NFL into our beautiful college game, but, it may be an NFL, AFC, NFC type of situation where networks sort of split it a bit.
Mark, could you see the conference affiliation that Notre Dame has, if it's not the ACC, and I don't know why they would keep it without any renegotiations of the TV rights package, but is there a silent partner that you think is kind of laying in the weeds that would come with, or that Notre Dame would like to see?
You mean like if the SEC snuck in and said, "Why don't you guys come down south?" And
or the Big Ten? We've heard the Stanford rumor floated, but they've been crazy quiet, which leads me to believe that something's happening. I don't know. How do you see it?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
there's a lot of history between Notre Dame and the Big Ten, and much of it is hostile. It's not all hostile, but much of it is. But I still think the Big Ten is where Notre Dame ends up for a lot of reasons. For the stature of their university and the way they see themselves in the world, I think fits better in the Big Ten. And I think that move with Stanford that you just mentioned is really compelling, because I think Stanford does want to keep playing big-time football, and it's a major rival in Notre Dame. It allows them to continue their coast-to-coast schedule. They'll keep Stanford and USC, and I think it's just the best fit in the Big Ten. So if Notre Dame goes and they're forced, which I think they will in the nearer future than later future, I do think it's the Big Ten right now, barring any changes.
So do you believe the report yesterday that was confirmed that the SEC is good at 16?
I believe it until I wake up one morning and the headlines tell me they went back on it. When I look at the landscape of college football right now, I do think that people want to settle it for a bit and plot out a little more organized future. But that might not happen. Listen, college football has had a lot of time over the years to get itself under control and stop doing things so chaotically, and they just refuse to do it. So we could keep continuing to see this chaos, but I think that it's going to be plotted out a little more carefully going forward, because they're basically where they want to be, the postseason, the regular season. Now it's just, how are you going to build it, I believe.
So if Yormark is set to take over as Big 12 commissioner, Kalavikov was, I think, held in pretty high regard, at least early on, for taking on a monster after the departure of Mr. Scott. Who would you rather be?
Rather be than who? Kliavkoff or who?
Yormark for the Big 12's new commissioner.
Oh, sorry. That was kind of cut out there. You know what? I really like George Kliavkoff.
I do too.
Yeah, I really do. I think he's a really savvy operator. I think here's the thing that I think is too bad about the Pac-12 and Kliavkoff. I think if they force Scott out earlier, which they should have, and they get Kliavkoff earlier, I think Kliavkoff could have saved the league.
Yeah.
I think he was handed a torpedoed vessel. They gave him the helm when this thing was going down. So it was a very tough spot for him to be in. If anyone can reorganize the Pac-12 and make it work for the future, I think it's him. So I think the Pac-12 holds the overall better brand, the better tradition, and kind of the more interesting set of universities. So the Big 12, Pac-12, I think they have a kind of a fascinating negotiation, conflict, a little bit of both coming up here.
It seems like the off-malign Big 12 could actually come out better than they started. And this is including, pillaging the AAC from top to bottom. Man, they don't have to be an afterthought.
I agree with that. I was looking at a map the other day and just going over their roster of schools, and they have a quality mix of football schools with some interesting up-and-coming contenders, including UCF. Until UCF loses their momentum and starts to fall back, UCF is a rising contender in that state, in my opinion. They got some football tradition. And then also, we're talking football. They also have a great basketball league, which keeps them compelling year-round. So I agree. The Big 12 went from losing two absolute flagships in Oklahoma and Texas to putting together a league that looks pretty nice.
Sharp and Betting in the Morning, Mark Schipper joining us from FifthDownCFB.com. All right, now let's talk about the health of the sport, because it's been a long time since Georgia and Alabama played for the national title. Since then, in the world of college football, we've had the transfer portal has dominated the headlines. Name, image, likeness has dominated the headlines. Now conference realignment is in the headlines. All while this is going on, Mario Cristobal at Miami is recruiting really well, and they're re-engaged. You've got the Blue Bloods are back in some spots with recruiting. Texas might be back. We don't know, but they're recruiting that way. In your opinion, from the last time that we played a college football game where they kept scoring, it mattered, how is the health of this sport right now, in your opinion?
Yeah, the thing I've been saying is that the 21st century arrived in 2020, and we've kind of started the revolutionary process in college football that everyone who follows sport closely had kind of seen coming for a long time. The COVID shutdowns kind of triggered it. It became clear that this was to everyone what kind of business this was and what needed to happen. So I kind of think we're now in the 21st century for real. We had a carryover. Now we're there. So the health of the sport is good, but what's upcoming is going to determine how healthy it remains. So we're going to reorganize. Playing into the 20th century, we're playing a game that was essentially created in the middle 20th century. It lasted a long time. It was beautiful. A lot of us wish it could have lasted forever. But I think we're just in a new era. Athletes finally are being able to profit off their hard work and skill sets, which should have happened a long time ago. There's a little more freedom of movement. And the sport is kind of acknowledging what it is, which is we're attached to colleges, but we're a big name entertainment property in this country, basically the biggest right behind the NFL. And we're going to kind of run our sport a little more in that direction. So I think the health is good, but they need to be careful that during this transition, they don't cut the roots off from what made this game what it was, which is a really special part of American culture, much more of a game. So it's a tricky balance going forward from what I can see.
Mark, let me ask you something, because we've talked a little bit about, Mark Emmert and balance and rules and regulation, and he's obviously stepping down. And whether the NCAA remains intact, there still needs to be a governing body in terms of rules of regulations. What would you be looking for in terms of leadership? Where do you see that particular person coming from, or maybe what their skill sets are?
Yeah, I think probably going forward, it has to come from more the athletic director, conference commissioner, media side. A guy like George Kliavkoff, I could see as a great leader of the sport, that type of guy, whether it's not necessarily him. I think the era of letting presidents and chancellors at universities have as much control over the sport as they've had is probably going to be a thing of the past. And whether the NCAA survives, I do not know. I don't know. I don't 50-50. Maybe. I don't know how long the NCAA goes forward as it's currently constituted regarding football. The NCAA could stay in charge of other stuff, but football is such a different beast. I think we are going to see a new leadership model in the not too distant future, and probably from the places that I mentioned.
All right, now let's talk about the games on the field, which around here, 46 days from now. As you look over the 2022 Big Ten West Division, what are some of your quick takeaways? Because we've talked a lot about the Vegas totals go from Wisconsin 8.5, and then there's a lot of jumbled teams that are at 7.5. So that is Nick Saban's wonderful world of competitive balance. How do you see the West Division this year?
Yeah, I see it kind of sticking status quo this year. I think Wisconsin, Iowa are at the top, and they'll battle out. If things go as you kind of project them to go, I think that's what will happen. But right in my tier just below it, I think Minnesota and Nebraska are both very interesting teams in the West. Nebraska last year was just a crazy year. I mean, when you look at the 7 essentially skin of the teeth losses, when you go to the next season, that already suggests there are going to be more close wins than losses there were the year before. So I think Nebraska picks up games there. Nebraska, they pull out of the East. I believe they play Indiana and Rutgers out of the East.
Yep.
So Nebraska has a favorable schedule. How they compete against the West Division foes will determine where they end up. I think the spoiler makers, Purdue and Northwestern, are kind of the next tier down. And then Illinois, I'm interested to see what Brett Bielema, we call him Bert, does building that program from scratch. He took over a powerful program at Wisconsin that went from, Barry Alvarez, who come from Hayden Fry, and really built that thing into a powerful program. And Bielema picked that up and did a great job with it, but he struggled at Arkansas, and now he's taken over a real project in Illinois. So I'm interested to see what he does, but I think Illinois is probably at the bottom of the West this year.
Mark, would you rather be Sarkisian or Venables?
Ooh, good question. That's a tough question. I probably Venables. Just because Oklahoma has won more on a big stage lately, whereas in Austin, you have that hump to get over. You got to march the team over the hump and get on the downhill slope. And it feels like there's so much history and pressure piling down on that program until they break through again. I think it's a really high stress job, whereas not that Oklahoma's not, but I think Venables kind of coming home and knows what he wants to do. And I think right now Venables is probably in a little better spot.
So Sharp and I, we were having this. We just kind of went down this rabbit hole about successful seasons with conference alignment and how many non-conference games to play in terms of looking at win total. So I just happened to take a look at the last 15 years in the top 25, and at no point have there been more than 6 teams, and it only happened once, that had less than 10 wins, including the bowl game. So I ask you this: if we get to bigger power conferences, what's the demarcation? What's the win total, in your opinion, for a good season?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of details in that would make the difference, meaning who did you play? What did you step out and try to do? I think one of the issues in college football has been a lot of bloated, undefeated records that when you go over the schedule, teams other than the conference didn't challenge themselves too much, which I don't like. College football used to have a lot of stepping out into big intersectional games early in the year. You'd really challenge your school against someone good. Nebraska was famous for this, particularly throughout the 90s. I think of their series with Washington and other quality teams out of conference. I wish there was more of that. So, if you play a weak schedule, you better win 10 games to have a good year. If you play a tough schedule, I think there's a chance you could say we had a pretty good year at 9 wins and we lost some tough games to some good teams. So, but I think the double-digit wins will always be the benchmark for, this was, we went out and played pretty good football.
Hey, we had a couple of newcomers last year to the playoff. Will we have newcomers to the playoff this year?
I hope so. These are great programs and great teams, but the college football playoff overall to me has been, it's fizzled. And that's no disrespect to the great programs and how good the football has been, particularly in the championship games. We've had some really great games. But as looking at the sport coast to coast, it's really boiled down the sport to a kind of hyper regional game, which is not good. My dream is to get college football back to what it once was, when we had enough balance and parity where you could say the top 10, some years the top 15 on any given Saturday likely could challenge each other depending on circumstances. So I'd love to see new teams in the playoff, but the top of the sport this year, it looks like the same old story, and some very good teams, with Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. That 4 wouldn't surprise me. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Mark, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you. Good work by you and your colleagues at fitdowncfb.com.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's just me over there. But thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Mark Shipper. You can check out his website, All In on College Football, which 46 days from now we'll be talking about games and people that play the games and results.
I wanted to get his thoughts on A&M. Because, boy, are they a trendy pick for a team that doesn't seem to like expectations.
Got a nice little roster, but they haven't been able to turn that roster into anything in consistency. Now they'll be the one to watch. It's kind of funny when you think about the offseason we've had in college football. Remember when the Jimbo Saban dust-up happened? Didn't that seem like a long time ago?
Yeah, that was exciting for about a day and a half.
Yeah, it went away. Portal got back into the discussion. Name, image, likeness got back into the discussion. And now conference realignment has gotten back into the discussion.
We have gone a while without really having to talk about name, image, and likeness.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a year. And it'll probably pick up again when we get more into the recruiting and closer to signing day and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been kind of quiet.
I kind of like this. Keku's on our JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed says 17 wins over the next 2 years should be the goal. Got to take the training wheels off it.
So an 8 and a 9.
Yeah.
Oh, that people around here would take that in a heartbeat. He also, do you have his tweet up? He made a good point that we need to keep on the radar to discuss.
What's that?
About going from 3 wins to 9.
Yeah, I've agreed.
Easier than going from 9 to 11.
He's said that for about 3 or 4 years. I'm inclined to agree with him. I mean, I think most sane people would agree with that. It's much easier to go from 3 to 9 than 9 to 11.
Which on the first blush, you go, no. All I got to do is win 2 more games. You're telling me that winning 6 more games is easier than winning just 2 more games? But that 10th and 11th win is
they're against
probably
really
a
good teams.
Yeah.
I'm inclined
we're
to agree
talking
with
we're talking Nebraska an 11-game schedule back in the day, where you could be 9-2 and you would, for the most part, consider it a really good season when you were playing 11 games.
Unless you were Tom Osborne.
How come you can't win a big one?
Yeah. It's not tongue in cheek. That's legit.
Oh, I know.
9-2 was not good enough.
Weird.
Heaven forbid you lose a non-con. What's UCLA doing beating you guys? Boy, it was a travesty.
See, just the how college football has changed.
And for a while, you knew they weren't beating Oklahoma.
No. And then things changed. But things have changed. Oh, and it was just taken for granted. You had played an 11-game schedule. And then we went to 12. And then most play 13. Some play 14. Some even get to 15.
Some gaudy records.
I know you've been on this all morning of looking up teams that don't win 10 games that are ranked.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
I'm going to pull up real quick here the 2016
top 25.
Yeah, but I want to see,
because I've got it. The lowest win total team was LSU with 8, and they were ranked 13th. Which coincidentally was the year with the most single-digit win teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The only year in the last 10, 15 with 7 single-digit win teams was 2016.
I'm looking at the.
How about that?
So you had Auburn in the end of the regular season. Auburn, Florida, Utah, LSU, Tennessee, Pitt were all 8-win teams on the final one of the regular season.
2017, there wasn't a 14-win team, which seems like that's the number you've got to get to if you want to be in the discussion. Isn't that crazy? 13-1. It's like, hey, man, why'd you play so few games? Wait, what?
I still think 9-3 in bloated conferences is going to be a good year.
Yeah, once alignment is done. I mean, you could convince me.
I mean, what the SEC when Texas and Oklahoma join, what's the record going to be to win you a division?
It'll be 10.
And think about it, they get to win 10 conference games.
Yeah.
Hello.
Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean,
I know they're only playing 8, but
if you look at the Big Ten right now, you're going to have to win 9.
Wouldn't that be great to get 2 more teams in your conference and still only play 8 conference games? That would be the life.
I would be. I don't want that.
I'm not even going to get you gassed up, but
that.
You get more teams and you still play less conference games.
Yeah, that's something that everybody's going to have to come together on.
Yeah,
because you got to give something to the fans. I mean, if we're having our world upended, I want good football games. I want good football games. I don't want North Dakota and Georgia Southern. Okay, you're going to charge me $60 for that.
Well, allegedly, you've been lying to these good people. You keep saying it means more. You've never heard that trash come out of my mouth.
Do I need to take you back to last month in Omaha? All right, Allie French is going to join us from KTV. She is very much intimately familiar with SEC country.
SEC.
So she will join us, and we will bombard her with conference realignment questions.
She's gonna be like, "Yeah, what?"
No, she's probably been preparing for this.
No, but why would no? There's the local angle too. She's everywhere. I'm over.
I think she was. Didn't she go cover Fedoni and Irvin? Their signing the other day.
Yeah.
Hey, I saw our Big Red fan club. Now their first auction item is tickets to home games. Yeah,
yeah, working it.
So maybe you win the auction for tickets, and then you get to meet a player after the game. They take you down on the field and take your picture.
Is this a ploy for the sellout streak?
Jeez, chance. We got other things to worry about than the sellout streak.
Oh, chance.
But I can tell you that
a grand conspiracy.
If you're not 1-0 and you need to be, it's a must 1-0. Don't even go there. Hey, it'd be a good sign. What's been an issue? You're not beating teams that Vegas says you're supposed to beat. Vegas says right now you're a 10-point favorite against Northwestern 46 days from now.
Is it down to 10? Or did you just make that up?
Oh, I think last time I saw it is at 10.
Oh, it's been at 12.5 for a while.
Really?
Yeah. As far as I know.
I might have to go get a different ticket.
No, you want the 10. If you like Nebraska, you want the smaller number. What's wrong with you? It's the story of your life. What? I'm just saying, you'd rather have 10 than 12.5.
Are you sure it's not still a 10?
Pretty sure.
All right. Well, those are the games when Vegas says you're supposed to win, you have a tendency to lose those games. There'd be a sign of at least a step in the right direction as you start winning those games you're supposed to win.
Well, try, narrow the scope instead of supposed to, because I hate that word.
I'm using Vegas.
Try winning at home. Do that.
You wouldn't take a neutral site victory in Dublin, Ireland?
Sure, I would, but you're not going to make any hay until you start winning more at home.
Who will locals root for?
You
think they will choose the Irishman, Pat Fitzgerald?
No.
Over the, what is Frost, German?
What?
Well, he's got
Where'd you pull that from?
Got the ginger hair, though.
I don't know what he is. He's American. He's American.
Okay, Broner. I wish we could bleep that out because he's something else.
Yeah, you probably. Well,
he's the can man.
Yeah, you probably run that.
You find folks out there, Google Broner can man. You'll be entertained. He can run his mouth with the best of them.
Sharp and Betting in the morning on 1620 The Zone. All right, so it's currently at 12 and a half. 46 days from now, the Don't F It Up season. So you can have 23, keep a recruiting class together, keep some people sane.
Sane?
Yeah. We'd want no part of something going wrong 46 days from now.
Mm.
That would be shut down the state.
Wow. You got Chance knocking on wood.
Well, you've had the whole offseason.
Chance,
Actually,
Sharpie likes sensationalism.
You know how miserable it is around here when things go bad?
That would be on a whole different level.
Losing to Northwestern?
Yeah.
I don't even know why you said that.
I don't believe it's going to happen. I believe for the first time under Scott Frost, Nebraska will win 3 football games in a row. Bellevue West Joey writes in to the Equitable Bank inbox.
Yeah.
DB said he was tired of football talk, so how about this?
No, expansion.
Joey, context.
Expansion, man.
DB said he was tired of football talk. DB responded, expansion. So how about this? Did either of you watch the All Nebraska Day on BTN yesterday? If so, did you watch the Nebraska-Michigan State basketball game from '94? Forgot how sloppy that game was. Like 30-plus turnovers combined by both teams. Not sure how Nebraska won that game, which they won in overtime. If that game was played during today's social media world, how would that game have been taken today? Husker Nation would have probably been complaining about a win and how it looked. Joking, kind of.
I don't know. Probably not. In '94, I'm sure we complain.
Gosh.
Because that team was supposed to be pretty good.
Hey, the 94-95 Nebraska team, there is no doubt Danny Nee could put together some fellas. How he got those fellas to Lincoln didn't matter. He could put some dudes together. And that win in overtime was that because that was the Steve Smith team. Poplawski was playing for Michigan State. I was sitting, I just brought it up on YouTube because I did not see it, Joey, yesterday. I'm behind one of the baskets in the student section.
Yeah, I know I'm there.
It was not, had it been called the dog pound yet? I don't think so. You know, you're up with the football players in the corner where the Huskers came on.
It's just the
and nobody went over there. Only girls went over there. Like you didn't have any other students that were afraid to come over there and sit with the football players. I knew how that worked.
That's about right.
I was at the other end next to the visiting bench. Yeah.
Boy,
Judd Heathcote.
I know they're a heavy metal band, but man, were there some slayers on this roster. Wow.
On the 94-95 Nebraska basketball roster?
Yes.
Where would you like to start?
Tom Best. Wow. Wow. That dude was a legend. You pit that dude with Pike? Man. I felt that's like, oh boy, and that skit when he said hide the women, hide your children. Man, that team. Just look at this. Pike, Jake Boone, Chubbuck, Strick, who had a nickname, Jamar Johnson, Badge, Melvin Big Head Brooks, Tom Best, Glock, who was about the only normal one, Mikey Moore, well, Lee Steinbrook, Chad Yeager, Chris Newton, and Kip Ralph. But man, whoo-wee. Those were some personalities to manage. You should go story time.
It's still within the window of.
Tom Best was one of the coolest guys going too.
Nobody can argue that Danny Nee knew how to get players. They had the run in the 90s of dudes, like really, really good basketball players, whether they were from in-state or he got a Tony Farmer to transfer from San Jose State, a Best to transfer from Toledo. He probably should have kept Jose Ramos at the junior college in Miami.
Yeah.
But he could get guys here to play.
Oh, no question.
They just couldn't win the NCAA tournament.
Remember, Tony Farmer left just before that.
Tony Farmer was really, really good. And then look you go down the road, Derek Chandler to Mikey Moore, to Vincent Hamilton.
Yeah.
That was not a problem in the 90s.
Hey,
of
remember
Nebraska
when they
basketball
landed
getting players.
Bernard Gardner, and that was like,
yeah,
the dude was like the number 3 or 2
Yeah.
JUCO guy in the country.
Yeah, and then Bernard Gardner, Nebraska wasn't flying charter. We flew back into Lincoln one night, and the bus wasn't there to pick us up. Bernard went out in the parking lot. He was going to steal a car to take the
Dude.
fellas back to campus.
BG was wild.
Yeah, he was going to steal a car at the Lincoln Municipal Airport to take guys back to campus
Had some
because the
long,
bus wasn't there and he wanted to go home.
long nights with him,
Yeah.
Jerron.
Well, and then you had
And remember the year before that, you know who left? Was Strickland or Woolridge.
yeah, that was some drama. So Danny could get
again,
players,
another
but
Harper 6'4"
so-
guy.
so Danny could get players, but
Shout
there was
out.
drama, whether it be Andre Woolridge or Chester Searles. Chester Searles.
Wow.
Here's what people will remember maybe about Chester Searles. And it was one of the worst mistakes the Journal Star ever
See
did.
what Joey did talking about Nebraska Day?
Yeah.
By the way, LSU Day had gymnastics as part of the day.
Yeah, we had Hartung and
They didn't make
Yeah.
the day, though, I don't think.
oh, okay, Francis Allen.
Good dude.
So this is what I always remember about Chester Searles. An egregious mistake by the Journal Star. Nebraska basketball or Nebraska football beats Florida to win the national championship at the Fiesta Bowl. And the whole front page is Tommy Frazier. And then there's the little strip at the top, and it's got the mugshot of Chester Searles. Or actually, it's got his basketball picture of Chester Searles because he got arrested for assault on the day of the Fiesta Bowl. And they put that on the front page. So I've got a framed Journal Star, great picture of T. Frazier. I got Chester Searles on the top.
That shook some people up.
What happened?
With Chester, yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
You talk about being ostracized in a hurry. Yeah. Strange times, man. Strange times.
Yep. Those were the days where I think everybody in your shoes knew who Gary Lacey was.
Oh, yeah. Him or Ken Cobble.
Ken was the director of police for
Campus,
the
yeah,
campus,
yeah.
and then Gary Lacey was the Lancaster County attorney.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, no question. I is fortunate to be alive. I'm serious. I am so serious. It's a lot of.
Do you know that? Okay, quick one on this. Then we got to get to Ellie. With surrounding Chester Searles, do you know that Nee had to call Bill Byrne at the Fiesta Bowl? He had to call him to give him a heads up that Chester Searles had been arrested on the day of the national championship game. And I don't think Searles ever played basketball in Nebraska again.
No.
He was suspended immediately. Ellie French. Yeah. Oh, we could do this. You and I, because we hung out with a lot of these guys, we could share some tales from the 90s basketball team. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They won. They just didn't win in the NCAA tournament. That was the problem. All right. Ellie French from KTV is coming next. All right, because of our relationship with KTV, we get to Andy Kendi usually says, "Oh, no, you guys are talking to me," but sometimes AK is out, and so we get to talk to Matt, and we get to talk to Ellie, and we get to talk to Ellie once again today. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Ellie, there's no way you have time off. Like, what are you doing?
You're right. Fair. It's weird because I do actually have today off and tomorrow off technically, but it's like it's hard to relax sometimes because I'm so go. So I have to tell myself, I'm like, you're off. Just chill out. You got this. Just relax.
Hey, so let's yesterday, by the way, this is a great event, and I'm glad it got a lot of attention. Tell everybody your day spending with the Nebraska volleyball program.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love that they're putting on a lot of these unified camps with different Husker teams. And so yesterday, what it was is Nebraska volleyball. They hosted this unified camp with Special Olympics Nebraska, and it was in Lincoln at Kinetic Sports Complex, I think. And so it was just a couple hours. They had, I think, around maybe like 40 kids or 40 athletes come out, and they kind of took them through different drills, which was really cool. And then they did an autograph session afterward and took pictures. And so it was just really fun just to see, how excited the athletes got spending time with these Nebraska volleyball players. And I even got to talk to one of the newer ones, Caitlin Horde, who transferred from Penn State. And it's so funny because she's like, I haven't even taken the court yet, the court yet in the Nebraska uniform, and like all these people know who I am. And so it's such a big deal to them just to be around them. And it was so fun just to see smiles on both the volleyball players' faces and the athletes that were there. So it was really such a cool event.
You've been in SEC country. You've been around Nebraska, a multitude of sports. You've seen the high school scene as well. When you look at Nebraska's volleyball team, there's a ton of good players. What do you think's the backbone of their culture?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. I think the stability and the fact that like Coach Cook has been there for so long too, that like the culture has just and that standard has been set. Because gosh, I don't even know what season he's about to go into, but I know he's been there for so long. And I think that stability is so important just because it's like then there's not that constant change. So I feel like he plays such a big role in that. And then I mean maybe a big part of it too is just because a lot of the girls I know tend to be from Nebraska or from the area, and this is just like a state in the Midwest in general where like girls volleyball is so big, and so it's like people just want to come play for Nebraska and just know that standard. So I think Coach Cook being there for so long and that stability plays such a big role in it.
Ellie French from KTV joining us. I know you're not a doctor, but you had a chance to spend some time with Thomas Fidone and Gabe Irvin. They put together a nice little autograph session over in Council Bluffs, and Thomas has, and both of them actually have had some really cool player-driven name, image, likeness. If you put, and you may have done this, asked Fidone how soon he's going to be back. Did he give you an idea of how soon he will be on the field?
Yeah, so did end up asking Thomas that, and the thing is, so he did end up getting hurt again this spring, and he said he did have a second surgery, and that was I think he said specifically March 22nd is when he had the second surgery, but he was saying that, it was the knee again, but this time he got hurt about a month earlier than he did last year in the spring. I asked him the question, do you think you're going to be able to play the season? And he said, well, because of the fact that I got hurt a little bit earlier this spring, I'm more optimistic that I'll be able to return earlier in the regular season. Didn't really say as far as, with the camp, if he's going to be there or not. It seems questionable. And then he also mentioned, just listening to his trainer and not rushing back. But he seemed in very high spirits and very optimistic. So
when you're talking, how do you think the guys? Did you get the sense, because they do a lot of scheduling and outside events, and this deal came up with the fan club and kind of an all access fan pass at Nebraska. And how do you think these guys do with managing their time? Because it seems like they have it pretty well mapped out.
I think they do. Yeah, I would say that they do a good a good job of kind of managing it. I mean, talking to just Gabe and Thomas, they mentioned like they just finished like a summer class because they have to take summer classes and stuff. But right, I think that they do have to really be able to manage their schedules pretty well. But it seems like right now it's kind of like that lull time, and they both just seem to be really enjoying themselves and kind of just relaxing. You know, I asked, what have you guys been up to? And that's when they mentioned finishing summer classes and just trying to get workouts in and get ready for, you know, fall camp and everything. But it kind of seems like right now is sort of that relaxation period. So I wonder if right now, you know, they're not as focused on, you know, the schedule of things, and they're like, wow, we finally can kind of relax for a bit. But they probably have to have their schedules on pretty good lock, I'd say.
With Big Ten media days kind of right around the corner, the season happens quick. When you're kind of looking at the media and how you think the balance of expansion talk versus on the individual level, you know, and they break the schools up and they talk big picture questions. How do you think Nebraska handles, with Trev Alberts being there, the talk of Frost and kind of a make or break year?
Handles it like just as far as with like in what way?
I could see an initial statement, not an initial statement, but you know, the one question and then kind of the trying to put closure on its answer as opposed to keep it from coming up again. I just wonder, like, how pressed you think the media will be with Coach Frost in this important year.
Oh, I think they kind of have to be, you know, and I think he knows it's coming just because it really is such a make or break year. And I think they really have to be, because you got to know what his answers are and just kind of how he really is feeling. And if he chooses to, you know, disclose that or not, you never know. But I think you have to kind of press that. And I assume he knows, obviously, it's coming, that there are going to be those hard pressing questions, because everyone knows. I mean, this is such a make or break year. I mean, even talking to Gabe and Thomas this past weekend, like, they're aware of it too. They said, like, we're going to have the best season ever. And because it's like, we want this coaching staff to be here and we want to keep them around. And they're really optimistic just about the new offensive staff and everything. So they know, like, this is a make or break year. And so I think that, I mean, that's kind of the forefront, minus the expansion talks, of course, too, of what specifically for Nebraska, Big Ten Media Days will probably be about. It's just like, this is such a make or break year.
All right, finally, because you were in the Magnolia State before arriving here in Omaha, whose hangover lasted longer, Mississippi State or Ole Miss fans?
Oh gosh, such a good question. I honestly want to say Mississippi State. I think because of the fact that, like, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first national championship, like, in school history across any sport. So that itself is just like a party forever and ever we're celebrating. And I think Ole Miss from last year, just with them getting knocked out of super regionals and, like, being so close to getting to Omaha, and even though they had this, like, roller coaster season, still believing, like, no, we're getting to Omaha and we're going to win. Like, they knew. Versus Mississippi State, I think they knew what they were capable of, but truly, like, didn't believe it till it happened. And same with, like, fans. I think Ole Miss fans really knew, like, we can do this. Plus, Oxford's just a nonstop party. So Starkville's great too, but Oxford is like a nonstop party. So I think Mississippi State wins. The hangover maybe a little bit longer in that one.
Hey, we appreciate it. Great seeing you out and about. And also, hey, on behalf of 1620, pass along our thoughts, and we're behind her with Waverly Monroe, who shared on social media yesterday. She been in the hospital. She was diagnosed with cancer, but we all know Wave, and she will beat this.
Absolutely. No, thank you guys. Definitely will. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, thanks Ellie. Yeah, it's she's going to be in a fight, but Waverly Monroe, who you see as a reporter, then a weekend anchor over at KTV, shared information yesterday that she's in the hospital after being diagnosed with cancer shortly after the 4th of July. All right, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks for everybody joining us on a Tuesday. We never got to Damon's favorite question on the heels of Zach Wilson. Do you ever have a thing for your parents' friends?
No.
Okay. Chance?
Well, maybe.
Not that I remember.
Maybe.
I have to think about it.
I think I used to have kind of a closet crush on Mrs. Pennington,
Okay.
but I don't know. Maybe that's more fear.
For Chance, for Damon, I'm Gary. We're back again tomorrow at 6 with another edition of Sharp Betting in the Morning.